Warrior Lore. Chapter 2848. As Suimo Yin spoke, he swallowed hard. When the crowd heard what Suimo had said, they turned to look at him. They wanted to hear what Suimo had in mind. According to the ancient records of my Huan Chu Holy Land, in the age of Yin and Yang, when the heavens and earth were first created, the beings born were incomparably powerful. At that time, order had not yet appeared and the laws had not yet been set. The realms that beings cultivated were not completely the same as the 9 realms later on. There were some discrepancies. Suimo Yan's eyes became serious as he slowly said, "It is said that in the beginning, there were no immortal and meditative realms. They were only one realm called virtual path. But later on, as more and more beings were born, the virtual path realm became increasingly difficult to achieve. Thus, it split into the truth-severing and immortal realms, which were passed down through the ages and never changed." Hearing his words, many of the experts present were shocked once again. None of them had heard of this before. However, with the Huan Chu Holy Land's background and the fact that it had been passed down through the ages, these records shouldn't be fake. Moreover, there was no need for that. The immortal and meditative realms are the same realm called virtual path. I'm afraid that only the most powerful existences can reach this realm. Everyone had the same thought in their hearts. They yearned for the vast and obscure era of Yin and Yang. Since the immortal and meditative realms were 2 realms later on, those that could step into the virtual path were definitely a group of terrifying existences. No one in the world could compare to them, and it was precisely because those who came later were unable to reach it that the realms were split apart. Virtual path. What kind of realm is that? Xiao Yun raised his eyebrows and asked Suimo Yin. Everyone's ears perked up as they heard this question. Their eyes shined as they looked at Suimo Yin, wanting to hear what he had to say. The virtual path realm is a legendary realm. We all know that in the truth-severing realm, one needs to grasp the complete form of the original laws. And in the immortal realm, one needs to fuse these laws together and grasp the origin of the laws. In ancient times, the first beings that were born were terrifyingly powerful. At that time, the laws of the heavens and earth were not complete. As the laws were explored and established, it was much easier to grasp them. Thus, although there aren't many people who have the 4 original laws, there are still quite a few. As Suimo Yin spoke, he looked at the purple-robed youth in the distance. After a long time, he continued, in the virtual path realm, once a being grasped all the 4 original laws, there is no need to fuse them together like in the immortal realm, and one can directly trace the origin and traces of the laws. Later on, the laws of heaven and earth were completely revealed, and the order was stabilized layer by layer. The cultivation of living beings was also greatly affected, and they no longer had such unique conditions. Everyone was bound by the power of heaven and earth, and their cultivation had to progress step by step. No one could reach the virtual path realm anymore, and that was why it was split up. Thus, heaven and earth were separated. As Suimo Yin spoke, the crowd was shocked. That was to say, in the ancient times, the beings that were born in the process of establishing the laws of the heavens and earth could easily grasp the 4 original laws. Not everyone could do this, but there were definitely many who could. What were the 4 original laws? They were things that were created by the Great Path. They represented the highest existence in the heavens and earth. In other words, after a true severing realm cultivator grasped the 4 original laws, he could directly trace the path of the Great Path and explore the most profound laws of the heavens and earth. Then, Yu Qing Divine Emperor, an expert, exclaimed in shock. He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. Could the purple-robed youth have really reached the legendary virtual path realm? If that was the case, it was too terrifying. Only immortal realm experts could trace the origin of the Great Path. Did he have the ability to do so now? If that was the case, how strong would he be after breaking through? This Yu Qing Divine Emperor is too terrifying. If he successfully breaks through, won't he become one of the top experts in the 33 heavens? Someone said with a strong sense of shock, "I don't know much about the virtual path realm." The ancient records of Huan Chu Holy Lands are also not detailed. However, one thing is for sure. The virtual path realm cannot be measured by the immortal realm and the meditative realm. According to my estimates, after Yuqing Divine Emperor breaks through, he will definitely be stronger than ordinary immortal realm experts. However, he will still be far from the meditative realm. However, if he breaks through to the virtual path realm, he will definitely be stronger than meditative realm experts. Suemo Yin pursed his lips and said. He continued to explain to the people around him. What he said were all guesses in his heart and had nothing to do with the ancient records. Following his explanation, everyone agreed with him and became clearer about the virtual path realm. This legendary realm had a long span of time. The four original laws constantly intertwined and fused together. Could it be that it was far stronger than the fusion of the immortal realm? If Du Xiaofu really broke through, he would definitely be much stronger than ordinary immortal realm experts. He couldn't be judged by common sense. The 33 heavens have existed for countless years. Aside from those ancient experts, I have never heard of anyone transcending with the four original laws. This Du Xiaofu will definitely surpass countless ancestors in the future and stand at the peak of the 33 heavens. Many people sighed. They couldn't suppress the waves of shock in their hearts. Today, we are about to witness a historical moment. Someone muttered, and the gaze he shot at the violet-robed young man was filled with boundless reverence and worship. They were the strongest disciples from the various superpowers. They were all arrogant and thought that they were extraordinary. However, today, under the brilliance of the young Yuqing Divine Emperor, they had no choice but to put down the pride in their hearts. With him sitting on the throne, Yuqing Divine Kingdom won't be able to rise. How can the various superpowers in the kingdom not rise? Zhang Haoran and Tang Yuanshan were shocked beyond words. They believed that as long as Du Xiaofu grew up, Yuqing Divine Kingdom would definitely be able to stand at the peak of the 33 heavens. They wouldn't be any worse than those ancient superpowers. The 33 heavens are going to boil over, Xiao Yun said numbly as he stared in Du Xiaofu's direction. It was as if his entire body was numb. Everyone looked at the purple-robed youth in the distance with shining eyes. They wanted to witness the birth of a miracle. After all, this was definitely something that had never happened before. It would definitely cause all the living beings in the 33 heavens to go crazy. In their line of sight, the divine ring above Du Xiaofu's head continued to spin and release a terrifying aura. There, the laws intertwined, the rhythm of the Tao rose, all things were evolving, and order was being weaved. This scene was related to everything in the world, but it also surpassed everything in the world. This scene continued for a very long time without dissipating. Everyone stood in the distance and quietly watched. At this time, no one was in the mood to explore the Fiend God battlefield. The origin of the laws is evolving. About a year later, Xiao Yun said softly. He could feel that the origin of the laws was being formed in the divine ring above Du Xiaofu. Although it wasn't complete, it was indeed evolving. The power of the Great Path is also rising. Qi Yuanlin swallowed his saliva and said softly. As a true severing realm expert and having seen the aura of the elder of the meditative realm, he could naturally feel the rhythm of the Great Path flowing in the divine ring. It was something that transcended the mortal world. I understand now. I see. Suemo Yin suddenly cried out in excitement, almost exclaiming in surprise. Everyone looked at him again, wanting to hear what he had to say. I see. The four great primordial laws were originally derived from the Great Path. The immortal realm experts search for the origin of the laws and find the traces of the Great Path. This is a process. However, Yuqing Emperor grasped the four great primordial laws at the same time. Thus, when the power of the laws merged, it produced a trace of rhythm. Suemo Yen exclaimed excitedly, Indeed. Then, is he comprehending the origin of the laws and the Great Path at the same time? One of the experts was puzzled and voiced his doubts. No. Suemo Yin immediately denied and said, for ordinary experts, the immortal realm and the meditative realm are two different processes. It's like following the vine to find the melon. First, they grasp the origin of the laws, then they search for the origin of the Great Path. However, Yuqing Emperor is different. He merged the four great primordial laws together. In this process, The rhythm of the great path is naturally produced. He doesn't need to search for the great path. In other words, as long as he finds the origin of the laws, he is only one step away from the true great path. When he said this, everyone understood once again. This meant that what others needed 2 processes to complete, Du Xiaofu only needed 1 process. The origin of the laws was derived from the great path. When the 4 great primordial laws gathered towards the origin of the laws, the rhythm of the great path would naturally be produced. In the end, when the origin of the laws reached perfection, the rhythm of the great path would also reach its peak. In such a realm, the distance to the true great path was indeed within reach. When they thought of this, everyone was envious. They felt their blood boil because of Du Xiaofu's situation. The great path was the supreme existence that everyone yearned for. At this moment, everyone's thoughts couldn't be described with just the word envious. However, everyone knew that they couldn't be envious. It wasn't just them. Since the beginning of time, countless living beings in the 33 heavens couldn't be envious. That was a person's fortune, and it required extremely abnormal comprehension ability and unimaginably abundant opportunities. Only with such attainments would one be able to achieve such a situation. Look, there's a change. At this moment, someone suddenly shouted and pointed excitedly at the purple-robed figure in the distance. There was no need for him to remind them. Many experts had already discovered the new situation over there at the first moment. They saw that above Du Xiaofu, the divine ring was becoming increasingly bright. It was like a blazing sun in the sky, illuminating everything for tens of thousands of miles. The entire divinity demon battle realm was illuminated. From the dark red earth, liquid seeped out, emitting a scarlet light. Then, the aura of the divine ring began to boil, pulsing without end. Chila. Suddenly, the skies were torn apart by a bright light. It was as fast as thunder, striking straight at Du Xiaofu. Boom! At the same time, another loud explosion rang out. It was like a heavenly drum being struck. The muffled sound reverberated in all directions, causing the heavens to shatter and the earth to sink. Wong 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 then, a terrifying buzzing sound appeared out of thin air. It was like a wheel driven by a supreme god was crushing through the void, carrying with it a shocking strength. At this moment, all the experts felt as if their hearts were suddenly clenched tightly by a large hand. They found it difficult to breathe, as if they were about to stop breathing. Under their gazes, ripples of various shapes and sizes appeared around Du Xiaofu and wrapped around his body. They looked like long whips dancing in the air as they lashed out at Du Xiaofu. The terrifying bolt of lightning also slashed down and was about to hit Du Xiaofu. Heaven Punishment Dao Pattern. This is the Heaven Punishment Dao Pattern. Retreat. Quick. Suemo Yan's face changed drastically when he saw this scene. He then shouted crazily, his voice reverberating through the sky. His shout hadn't finished resounding through the air when his entire body had already shot out explosively, and he fled extremely swiftly towards the rear like a terrified stray dog. Many people did not know what was going on, but they did not dare to hesitate and immediately followed him. As the strongest disciple of the strongest force in Changrong Heaven, Suemo Yan's knowledge and experience exceeded many people. No one dared to disregard his words. Holy Son, what is the Heaven Punishment Dao Pattern? Zhang Haoran felt uneasy, but he could not help but ask Xiao Yun. He came from a powerful force in Yuqing Holy Kingdom, but he had never heard of the Heaven Punishment Dao Pattern. Xiao Yun's face was extremely pale. As he fled with all his might, he licked his lips and said in a trembling voice, "Legend has it that when one is in the meditative realm, every time one breaks through a realm, there will be a calamity. This calamity is formed by the Heaven Punishment Dao Pattern. It is said that it carries the power of the Great Path." As he fled, he explained to Zhang Haoran and Teng Yuanshan beside him. The Great Path is the most supreme existence in this world. That kind of power is not allowed to come into contact with, it is a taboo. However, at the end of the path of cultivation, it is to pursue the highest and will definitely come into contact with the Great Path. It is also because of this that in the meditative realm, not only does one have to endure the most difficult cultivation of this realm, One also has to resist the heaven punishment Tao pattern when breaking through. Only by resisting it can one reach a higher level. Although Brother Du is not in the meditative realm right now, his phantom Tao realm should be even more heaven-defying. That is why the Great Path is going to use the heaven punishment Tao pattern to kill him. A large area around him will become a forbidden area. If we continue to stay there, I'm afraid we will die without even a bone left. Xiaoyan spoke very quickly and told the two of them everything he knew. Tung Yuanshan and Zhang Haoren became extremely nervous when they heard his words. They unconsciously looked back, but they were pulled away by Xiaoyun. His speed increased again. The heaven punishment Tao pattern touched upon the taboo. The Great Path will kill itself, Teng Yuanshan muttered. He was deeply worried for Du Xiaofu. Just hearing what Xiaoyun said caused him to feel a chill run down his spine, and boundless shock swiftly arose in his heart. The Great Path was a supreme existence. It could not be touched or profaned. If one wanted to break through, one had to endure the heaven punishment Tao pattern. Only by resisting it could one have a stable footing. Emperor Deity, you must resist it. Zhang Haoren resisted the urge to turn around and look. He kept his head down and fled. Since it was the heaven punishment Tao pattern, only those who had reached the meditative realm or the legendary phantom Tao realm would have it. It was absolutely terrifying. It was possible that even those who had reached the meditative realm or the phantom Tao realm would not be able to resist it. If Du Xiaofu could not resist it, then the result would be, Brother Du, you can only rely on yourself for this. Xiaoyun smiled bitterly as he silently muttered in his heart. With his strength, there was nothing he could do. He could only pray silently. Everyone ran away extremely quickly and did not look back. Along the way, Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiaoyun and the others let out long cries to warn the other experts along the way. They wanted everyone to quickly run away to avoid being implicated in dying. For the time being, the entire divine demon battlefield was in chaos. Everyone was running away crazily as they wanted to get as far away from Du Xiaofu as possible. However, in such a situation, there was a group of people who were different from the others. They did not run away but rushed toward Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu is breaking through. If he can resist the forbidden heaven punishment, we won't be able to stop him. In front of this group of people, Shan Yin was the first to move. His body was releasing a fierce aura as his eyes kept flashing. Behind him, strange creatures followed. There were no less than 300 of them. Most of these creatures were humanoid. Some of them were covered in spikes, some were covered in scales, and some were burly with 2 horns on their heads. They were the characteristics of the demon clan. The most important thing was that these 300 demon clan experts all had powerful auras. The weakest one was at the first sky of a mortal realm. It was a terrifying team. Quick, speed up. We must stop him before he can resist it. We must seize the chance to kill him while he's resisting the heaven punishment. Dongli Chihuang spoke in a low voice, shouting at the large group of people behind him. No matter how many of us die, we must stop him from breaking through. Chan Yin gritted his teeth fiercely, and he'd already executed his speed to its limits. He didn't dare to delay. He only wanted to lead the experts behind him to attack. Even if he had to sacrifice a lot of lives, he wouldn't hesitate. They only wanted one result, which was to kill Du Xiaofu. Chapter 2849. Dongli Chihuang, Shan Yin, and the others moved quickly towards Du Xiaofu. A long time ago, when Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Xiaoyun, Lin Kaiyun and the others started to retreat, Du Xiaofu had already woken up. My idea is really feasible, but what is the situation now? He was elated. If he followed his initial plan and used the Void 8 trigrams, he could really merge the 4 primordial laws together. This was definitely a great surprise. The means of the master of the 3,000 great worlds were indeed extraordinary. At that moment, Du Xiaofu felt that he had reached an unprecedented level of strength. With the secret force circulating in his body, he was confident that he could fight a level 4 or even level 5 immortal realm expert head-on. If Dongli Chihuang and Chen Yin were to come here again, then Du Xiaofu felt that killing them would be as easy as blowing off dust. However, Du Xiaofu was also puzzled. His current state was far from the normal immortal realm. The mysterious Taoist rhyme was not something that an immortal realm expert could touch. Since ancient times, I have never heard of anyone who could master the 4 primordial laws at the same time. Hence, my current realm is probably unique in the world. Du Xiaofu thought to himself. Since he had chosen this path, he could only rely on himself to explore it step by step. No one could provide him with the corresponding help. Fortunately, the master of the 3,000 great worlds had the void 8 trigrams, which allowed him to obtain some opportunities and break through. After breaking through, I still have to face such a test? Suppressing the thoughts in his mind, Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked around. Those strange lines appeared in the surroundings, releasing a terrifying aura. He was not unfamiliar with such an aura. Back then in Qian Su Jinghua Heaven, he had seen it on the body of the Taisher Demon Dragon Clan's patriarch Zhuang. Du Xiaofu was not surprised but happy. Being able to attract the divine punishment meant that his actions were heaven-defying enough. He had touched an invisible taboo that the great Tao could not tolerate. If he was able to resist it, then his strength would definitely rise to an even more terrifying level. This is a Tao pattern. After the pleasant surprise, Du Xiaofu's heart started to become heavy again. It was not difficult for him to feel that those patterns carried a terrifying Tao rhyme, as if it could suppress and kill everything. At this moment, the veins were spinning and slashing towards him. They were soundless and didn't cause the slightest fluctuation. But it was under such circumstances that Du Xiaofu's body suddenly burst open and blood splattered into the void. Such terrifying power made Du Xiaofu's hair stand on end. He was very clear about his own physical body. It was extremely abnormal, but it was actually so easily cut through. How could he not be shocked? Chi chi chi. Just as Du Xiaofu was thinking, the Tao patterns were like knives, containing a sharp edge, and continued to attack. They easily cut through his physical body and destroyed his vitality. They also penetrated the obstruction of his physical body and slashed his primordial spirit. In just a moment, Du Xiaofu's entire body became much weaker, and the strength in his body was greatly depleted. Rumble, then, a lightning bolt thicker than a mountain struck down from above and hit the halo above Du Xiaofu's head, splitting the halo in half instantly. The remaining power of the lightning did not diminish and continued to fall on his head. Chi chi. A terrifying power burst out, and Du Xiaofu's body was split open from the middle like cutting through tofu. What a terrifying power! Du Xiaofu's heart was beating nonstop. He used the full power of the immortal Xin body, and only then did his body that was split open become one. The strength in his body was constantly vibrating, resisting the attack of the Tao patterns with all his strength. His physical body was healing bit by bit. In the end, the speed of his body's recovery was almost the same as the speed of the Tao patterns. In this way, he was in an invincible position, maintaining a delicate balance. However, there was a huge tremor in the sky again, and thunder poured down, turning into strips of silk that hung in the void. The scene was indescribably terrifying. Heaven's punishment? Then let me see if you can stop my Tao. Facing the ferocious attacks from all directions, Du Xiaofu let out a deep roar, and an unyielding will rose from his body. At the end of the road of cultivation, it was to pursue the highest Tao, and to do something that defied the heavens. No matter who it was, as long as they wanted to reach the highest place, they would have to touch some taboos and attract heaven's punishment. However, Du Xiaofu was not afraid. How could he stop because of such a small obstacle? Rumble. The thunder roared, and the heaven's punishment Tao patterns danced like flying cotton, circling around Du Xiaofu. Since cultivation is an act that defies the heavens, since you are the Tao, you can't stop me. Such a loud shout came from Du Xiaofu's mouth. His entire body was straight as he stood in the void. From head to toe, a large amount of light rays shot out, making Du Xiaofu look like a god in the sky. The power of the 4 primordial laws boiled at the same time, and thousands of Dharma images took shape, changing into various scenes, as if a world was being constructed. The power of the laws slashed out, attacking again and again, going against the sky and shattering the terrifying thunder. However, The surrounding Dao patterns easily cut through his power of laws and continued to hit Du Xiaofu's physical body. Fortunately, under the operation of the immortal Xin body, this delicate balance was not broken. The scene over there is too frightening. I don't know if the Divine Emperor can resist it. Far away, Zhang Haoran, Tang Yuanshan, Xiao Yun, and the others retreated tens of millions of miles before they stopped. Everyone looked back with fear in their hearts. They could only see lightning rolling down from the sky like a curtain of rain. It was terrifying to the extreme. The power of these thunder is indeed terrifying, but an ordinary expert at the second or first sky of a mortal realm should be able to resist it. So, this is just the beginning. The more frightening thing is yet to come. Xiao Yun pondered for a while, then said with a solemn face, in fact, the most frightening thing isn't the thunder. It's the Dao patterns. When the power of the great Dao flows, it can destroy everything. The stronger Brother Du is, the more terrifying the attack power will be. Zhang Haoran and Tang Yuanshan became even more solemn. Even though they were extremely far away, they were still able to sense some things. They noticed that even though Du Xiaofu was covered in lightning, it was just as Xiao Yun had said, he wasn't in any great danger. It turned out that those seemingly insignificant Dao patterns were the most frightening existence. If he can resist until the end, his strength will be absolutely terrifying. An ordinary expert at the third or fourth sky of a mortal realm won't be able to withstand a single blow from him. Suemo Yin of the Huanchu Holy Land said, pondering. He had never truly seen an expert of the virtual path realm, but according to normal reasoning, he could imagine that such a realm was absolutely not something an ordinary immortal realm expert could compare to. I hope he can resist it. If such an abnormal existence falls, it would be a pity. Qi Yuanlin of the True Yin Holy Land said softly. After he said that, the others fell silent. They didn't say anything else, but quietly looked into the distance, waiting for the changes. On the other side, Dongli Qihuang and Shan Yin led hundreds of immortal realm experts and approached Du Xiaofu's location. The sky punishment has begun. We should take this opportunity to kill Du Xiaofu. Dongli Qihuang's eyes glowed red as he coldly looked forward. The sky punishment hasn't fully formed yet. We've come at the right time. As long as we can affect Du Xiaofu, we don't have to worry about him not dying. Xin Yin said coldly and ruthlessly. Then, without hesitation, he plunged into the sky full of Dao patterns and led the others forward. These Dao patterns were extremely frightening. As they moved forward, their bodies were constantly cut open. However, the experts of the demon clan who came here were all extraordinary. The weakest one was at the first sky of Immortal Realm. There were even a dozen at the sixth and seventh sky of Immortal Realm. In this way, although it was very difficult for them to move forward, they still resisted the attacks and moved forward step by step toward Du Xiaofu's location. As they got closer and closer, Du Xiaofu's figure gradually appeared in their line of sight. On the other hand, everything they saw caused the expressions of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin to freeze fiercely. This kid did it. As long as he can resist the sky punishment, we won't be able to kill him in a short time unless our master takes action personally. Dongli Qihuang's face was solemn. Du Xiaofu had used the power of principle to resist the world-destroying thunderbolts. The scene was so shocking that even a second sky of Immortal Realm expert couldn't do it. However, what surprised him the most was that when the Dao patterns in the sky slashed his body, he recovered quickly. If it continued like this, when the sky punishment dispersed, their plan would be too late. No hurry. The sky punishment has just begun. Doesn't he want to break through smoothly? Let's go and give him a hand. Shun Yin sneered. Then, he swung his arm and shouted, "Kill him. Even if we all die here, we must make Du Xiaofu vanish into thin air." Following his order, the experts of the demon clan behind him answered in unison. They ignored the terrifying Dao patterns and dashed toward Du Xiaofu. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Under the slashes of the Dao patterns, blood splashed from these experts and dyed the void red. However, no one looked back. They just moved quickly. After the experts of the demon clan entered the range of the Dao patterns, The scene outside Du Xiaofu's body began to change greatly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Strange buzzing sounds spread out like the sound of the great Tao, spreading from the imperial palace to the present world. The terrifying thunderbolts were blown away until they disappeared completely. Subsequently, the densely packed Tao patterns began to spin and twist, rearranging themselves and transforming continuously. The Tao rhymes spread out to every corner of the void. Under the influence of the Tao rhymes, the void began to rumble. Around Du Xiaofu, the power of the four primeval laws appeared. Then, the power of the laws changed into different forms, such as metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, and so on. However, all of this was just the beginning. As the power of the laws fluctuated, everything that could be seen in the world evolved and appeared. Numerous mountains, expanses of land, oceans, forests, clusters of blazing flames, hurricanes, thunderbolts, and so on and so forth swiftly took form. The energy of space spread out, carried all of this, and enveloped Du Xiaofu within it. Around these physical forms, the power of life was born. Shadows of living creatures appeared, as if they really had life. At the same time, the giant wheel of time rolled, giving the world an even stronger vitality. In an instant, Du Xiaofu seemed to have fallen into a real world. Everything around him was so real, as if a new world had been opened. Is this the power of the great Tao? Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled. When the Tao patterns began to evolve, the corners of his eyes began to twitch. The great Tao evolved into the laws, and the laws constructed order, and then created the universe and gave birth to all things. Everything that was revealed just now was the truth of heaven and earth. Was it the same as the formation of the 33 heavens and many other worlds? This kind of power caused Du Xiaofu's heart to palpitate. A world evolved just like that, causing him to feel fear. The true test has come. Du Xiaofu's heart sank. He felt an unprecedented pressure. Just as he was pondering, the myriad of world forms around him suddenly pressed down on him at the same time. This world shrank and released a terrifying compression force. It was as if it wanted to crush Du Xiaofu into a meat patty and then grind him into dust. This compression force was too terrifying. In the blink of an eye, his mortal body cracked and blood spurted out like a fountain. Ao, the red-bone horse monkey's primordial spirit also let out an earth-shaking roar. But when this terrifying sound wave spread out, it only caused the world outside to tremble. It couldn't be destroyed at all. Du Xiaofu felt as if he was about to explode into a bloody mist. This pressure was too terrifying. It was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. Roar! A dragon roar reverberated. Du Xiaofu didn't need to think. He directly urged the second transformation of his blue spirit armor, which was the Azure Dragon Body. With the Azure Dragon Body to resist, the pressure on him was reduced a lot. However, he still couldn't resist the terrifying compression. The dragon scales on the Azure Dragon's body exploded. His horns were broken. The giant body was compressed again and again, becoming smaller and smaller. Tui on the other side, many experts of the demon clan had entered this place. The weaker ones couldn't resist anymore. Many first sky and second sky of immortal realm experts exploded and turned into a bloody mist. They died tragically. After several breaths, more than half of the 300 experts of the demon clan were killed. Only around 100 of them were still struggling to resist. We have to resist. We can't die in vain. We have to kill that kid. An expert at 7th sky of immortal realm also felt a tremendous pressure. Fortunately, his cultivation base was really profound. He could resist it. Under his leadership, more than 100 people were trying their best to move forward. However, as they were getting closer to Du Xiaofu, the 3rd sky of immortal realm experts couldn't endure it anymore. They were all killed shortly. This heaven punishment's power is too terrifying. However, the experts of our demon clan won't die in vain. Everything you've done is for the demon clan. Outside the world, the easternly Scarlet Phoenix looked at all of this with a gloomy expression and muttered. He and Shunyan didn't get in there. With their identities, they had to stay alive to control the situation. Unless they had no other choice, they wouldn't take the risk. Moreover, with hundreds of experts taking action, as long as they could affect Du Xiaofu, they would succeed and achieve their goal. As expected, after the powerhouses were crushed into a bloody mist, the vibrations of the world became even more terrifying. The speed at which the world shrank became faster and faster. Not long after, the entire world shrank from a radius of 10,000 miles to half its original size. At the same time, the pressure Du Xiaofu had to bear was even more tremendous. His entire azure dragon body was squeezed into a ball, which was less than 3 meters tall to reduce the pressure he had to bear. It can't continue like this. If I don't think of a way to solve this, I will be crushed to death sooner or later. Du Xiaofu's mind raced as he considered how to get out of this situation. However, the energy in his body was also suppressed. It was strenuous to urge it. The 4 great principles he had mastered were shaken. In just a blink of an eye, they were crushed by the real world and exploded. Du Xiaofu felt powerless. In front of Qi Wei's world power, he didn't have any chance to resist. Kill. Right at this moment, the group of Demon Clan's experts had reached Du Xiaofu. At this point, there were only less than 50 devils left alive. The others had been crushed to death during their advance. They couldn't be more dead. The survivors were all extraordinarily strong. The strongest one among them was at 5th sky of a mortal realm. I can't resist anymore. I'm leaving. An expert at 5th sky of a mortal realm of the Demon Clan with thorns all over his body hissed hoarsely. As soon as he screamed, he flew out and landed by Du Xiaofu. Right after that, his terrifying energy was urged. Endless demon qi seethed. Soon after, there was a loud bang as the body of the Devil Clan exploded. The terrifying commotion caused the shrinking world to tremble. Du Xiaofu, on the other hand, was the first to bear the brunt of the impact. He was greatly affected. The energy of the self-detonation struck his body and cracked his dragon body. A large chunk of his flesh was gone, leaving behind a hideous scar. Roar! Du Xiaofu roared and screamed in pain. However, in this strange world, his voice couldn't be transmitted far before it was suppressed. He rolled on the ground as he was hit hard. Moreover, under the pressure, he looked like he was about to explode. He tried to fly up to get rid of this world. However, as soon as he made a move, the entire world moved with him as the center. Chapter 2850. The entire world was like a sticky candy sticking to Du Xiaofu. He couldn't escape. Mwahaha. Kid, go die. For the Demon Clan, kill. At this moment, dozens of demon experts at 5th sky of Immortal Realm sneered and stormed toward Du Xiaofu. They couldn't resist the pressure from the center anymore. They chose to explode, which hurt Du Xiaofu unimaginably. After a short moment, only around 10 experts at 6th sky and 7th sky of Immortal Realm were left among the 40 warriors who were still alive. They could barely resist. Under their gazes, the body of the azure dragon at the center was already broken to the extreme. Most of its flesh and blood had been blasted away, leaving only pieces of ghastly bones exposed and covered in blood. Arg! Du Xiaofu screamed and howled. He was in so much pain. Under the pressure of the world created by the Great Path and the explosion of the demon experts, this double attack was fatal to him. Even the blue spirit armor couldn't protect him. His aura was weakening rapidly. It was much weaker than before. If the situation continued to develop like this, it wouldn't be long before he could be easily obliterated just by relying on the compression force of the surroundings. Mwahaha. Kid, it's time for you to die. The remaining experts of the Demon Clan sneered darkly. They all moved at the same time, attacking Du Xiaofu. If we're here, we don't plan to go back alive. Kill. An expert at 7th sky of Immortal Realm shouted. The scales on his body glowed with a black halo. The terrifying power of the great principle rose and created a giant axe with a brutal aura. It slashed down. Arg! Damn it! These words almost came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. He was in incomparable pain. Looking at the fluctuating power of the axe, Du Xiaofu felt the strongest threat. Not to mention the terrible state he was in right now. Even if he was at his peak, Such an attack would still cause him great harm. However, it wasn't enough. The other experts of the demon clan also took action. In an instant, numerous scarlet red murderous auras surged in this independent world. Saber lights and sword images interweaved together, and the energy of the laws surged. All of them targeted Du Xiaofu, and they attacked brazenly. He didn't have a way to retreat. Whether it was the pressure of the world or the attacks of the experts of the demon clan, he could feel the aura of death. If it's the heaven punishment, there must be a way to break it. Although the Great Path has a taboo that I can't touch casually, it should leave me a way to survive. Otherwise, where did the 9 great realms come from? Since he couldn't resist all of this, he simply closed his eyes and began to comprehend the way to break through. The 9 realms of the 9 great realms in the 33 heavens. And they were not groundless. Although the last 2 realms, Tao Carrier and Manifestation, only existed in legends, there must have been such experts in the past. Otherwise, these 2 realms wouldn't have existed. In fact, he also understood that when one touched the great Tao in the meditative realm, they would face the attacks of the heaven punishment Tao patterns if they wanted to break through. However, there were many experts in the world who could reach an even higher level in the meditative realm. For example, the dean of Tianwu Academy who had been sleeping in the desolate ancient space for many years. If they could resist the heaven punishment, Du Xiaofu believed that he could find a way to break it as well. However, the only difference was that the meditative realm was too powerful. It far exceeded Du Xiaofu's current strength. Then what is the final chance to survive? Du Xiaofu pondered over these questions. His mind was spinning rapidly. At the same time, he circulated the power of the 4 primordial laws and tried his best to fuse them together to create a Tao pattern to resist the compression of the world. In this short period of time, the attacks of the experts of the demon clan arrived. Amidst a terrifying wave of energy, Du Xiaofu's figure was instantly engulfed. Under the compression of the world, although these attacks were far from the standard of these experts, they were still terrifying enough to crush Du Xiaofu's body into ashes. Even if he could survive in the end, he would definitely be extremely weak. If the experts of the demon clan wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping their palms. Reality was just as the experts of the demon clan had expected. In just an instant, Du Xiaofu's body was reduced to ashes. The body of the azure dragon was destroyed, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Only the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit was left exposed. However, it was already dispirited and listless. We are just a step away from success. The heavy responsibility of the demon clan will be completed by us. Many of the demon clan members were extremely excited and started to howl. They withstood the immense pressure and charged towards Du Xiaofu again. They were preparing for a new round of attacks. Facing such a scene, Du Xiaofu, who was left with only a wisp of primordial spirit, felt a little disheartened. If it weren't for these experts of the demon clan, he would have had more time to think of a solution. He wouldn't have been disturbed and ended up in this state. In the end, I still can't grasp that slim chance of survival. Du Xiaofu sighed inwardly. He was confident that as long as he could break through the heavenly punishment, he would be able to contend with the experts of the demon clan. He definitely wouldn't be easily crushed. But the current predicament made him feel helpless. The power of the heavenly punishment was too vast, and Du Xiaofu felt powerless. Kill. At the same time, the experts of the demon clan launched a new round of attacks. That terrifying energy was boiling. Under the joint attack of many high-level immortal experts, that terrifying energy was boiling, as if it was going to destroy the world. The murderous aura was so vast and dense that it caused the entire world to tremble violently. Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Seeing this tyrannical attack, a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Since I can't break through this predicament, even if I die, I definitely won't let the demon clan off so easily. He gritted his teeth, and the power of his primordial spirit surged wildly. He didn't even bother to recover the blood and flesh around him. Instead, he gathered all the strength in his body and charged towards the experts of the demon clan. Demon clan, come! Du Xiaofu roared. The redbone horse monkey charged forward, and the world formed by the heavenly punishment moved. He no longer resisted the terrifying pressure and released all the strength in his body. The power of the 4 primordial laws swept out crazily. Since he'd decided to kill these demon clan experts, he had to use all his strength to prevent them from escaping. Under Du Xiaofu's control, the time, space, matter, and soul laws began to circulate at full force. These 4 laws represented the power of the 4 symbols. He'd originally wanted to gather them together to form an even stronger source of laws. While protecting himself, he'd also be able to better resist the terrifying pressure. But now, the power of the 4 symbols had split apart, forming an 8 trigrams diagram. With his primordial spirit as the center, it spun rapidly. In the midst of it, the Tao aura that had been gathered instantly dissipated, and the surrounding pressure increased by several times. This 8 trigrams diagram was different from the void 8 trigrams that the ruler of the 3,000 boundless worlds had taught him. In the past, the void 8 trigrams power was based on the matter laws, and then mixed in with the other 3 primordial laws. They fused and rotated together, forming a single entity, and then evolved into a myriad of forms. But now, the 8 trigrams diagram that Du Xiaofu had formed was formed directly from the 4 symbols' power. Each primordial law was split into 2, each occupying an area, and was engraved with a profound source of energy. Kill. Du Xiaofu roared and moved. The 8 trigrams diagram flew through the air, directly charging towards the experts of the demon clan. Rumble. A terrifying tremor spread out, and the surrounding world collapsed. Thousands of mountains collapsed, thousands of waves roared, and the heavens and earth exploded. This scene was extremely shocking. It was as if a peerless madman had crossed the sky and broken the mountains and rivers. In just an instant, the killing intent of the 2 sides brazenly collided. Buzz, a buzzing sound that could pierce through gold and crack stone was produced. This world seemed to have been smashed by another world, and it shook incessantly. Under the shocked gazes of the experts of the demon clan, Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams diagram was extremely ferocious. It directly destroyed all of their attacks, and not even a ripple of energy was emitted. It was a crushing force. What a terrifying method! The experts of the devil race were shocked to the extreme. No one knew better than themselves just how powerful their attacks were. Not to mention the heavily injured Du Xiaofu. Even if the other party was at his peak, he would not be able to take it head-on, much less be destroyed. Of course, this was due to the influence of the surrounding Tianfa world, but it should not be broken so easily. Go to hell, demon clan, Du Xiaofu roared. The redbone horse monkey's body flashed through the air, and the 8 trigrams diagram followed him like a shadow, brazenly pressing down on the experts of the demon clan. He had used all the strength he could muster, and under the infusion of this strength, the 8 trigrams diagram continued to transform. All kinds of laws were born, and everything in the world appeared, forming a terrifying wheel. Under the influence of this wheel, the surrounding Tianfa world shook even more violently. Mountains and rivers crumbled, and space disintegrated. Such a scene caused the experts of the demon clan to feel a chill run down their spines. This brat is so strange. At this moment, for the rise of the demon clan, he has to explode himself, said a green-skinned expert at 7th sky of Immortal Realm. Du Xiaofu's deeds were too cunning. Only by exploding himself could he cause the most damage to him. Kid, go to hell, shouted an expert at 6th sky of Immortal Realm. He didn't think much and directly stormed toward Du Xiaofu. His body swelled and then exploded with a boom. The wheel outside Du Xiaofu's body shook hard, as if it was about to shatter. However, it was lucky that his redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit was protected by the wheel, so it didn't receive a strong impact. Such a scene caused Du Xiaofu's heart to tremble fiercely. He was so surprised. The explosion of some experts at 5th sky of Immortal Realm could hurt him like that. However, the explosion of an expert at 6th sky of Immortal Realm didn't affect his primordial spirit much. This situation was so strange that he couldn't understand it. While carrying the massive wheel, the redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit couldn't help but frown. Du Xiaofu couldn't stop thinking. Not long after, He let out a laugh that shook the sky. Ha 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 ha. I got it. I got it. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Du Xiaofu suddenly understood something. It seemed like he had made a big mistake right from the beginning. It's true that the Great Path is supreme, but it's not the strongest. Although the invisible power is intimidating, the real threat is the absolute power that can be seen. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but shout. He mumbled to himself, "That's how it is. That's how it is." A strange feeling arose in his heart. It was a strange feeling that his previous knowledge was overturned in just a blink of an eye. Finally, he understood that the real power wasn't the Great Path but the world. It was true that the Great Path was supreme and stood above everything. However, after it evolved into the world, it had the power to destroy everything. The power of the heavenly punishment was derived from the Great Path and eventually formed the power of the world to suppress him. Wasn't it the same principle? Otherwise, why couldn't the countless Tao inscriptions kill him directly at the beginning? Of course, Du Xiaofu knew that it didn't mean that the Great Path was weak. It also didn't mean that he could easily resist the true Great Path. The heavenly punishment he had triggered this time was just a test. If he was killed by the Great Path, he was afraid that no one in this world would be able to escape. However, after comprehending this level, Du Xiaofu's confidence multiplied. The Great Path is supreme, and the world is the strongest. Then, let's use the absolute power of the world's origin to try. Du Xiaofu's redbone horse monkey's primordial spirit's eyes became extremely sharp. The 8 trigrams formed by the 4 great primordial principles had evolved into a terrifying wheel. At this moment, the energy in the wheel revolved crazily. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The terrifying buzzing sound pierced the ears of the devil race powerhouses. Everyone's divine soul was trembling. We can't delay any longer. Attack together and kill him. Many devil race powerhouses howled. They couldn't delay any longer. For the rise of the devil race, they had to kill Du Xiaofu. These people moved together, all pouncing towards Du Xiaofu. As long as they got close to him, they would not hesitate to self-destruct and cause Du Xiaofu to die without a burial ground. However, just as they moved, an astonishing change occurred on Du Xiaofu's body. Under the circulation of the various powers in the wheel, all kinds of things evolved. Time, space, matter, and soul. The 4 great primordial principles appeared and formed a strange scene. It was like a reflection of the real world. These terrifying powers were condensed and kneaded together by Du Xiaofu in the blink of an eye. Then, they transformed into a huge light sword that could pierce through the heavens and the earth. It was like an object that could split the heavens and the earth. It directly slashed down. Qila, the light sword cut through the sky and destroyed everything. The entire Tian Fa world was about to be slashed apart. Many things collapsed and returned to their Tao patterns. The dozens of devil race powerhouses watched the sword slash down. In just a moment, they couldn't move. It was as if they were bound by some kind of powerful force. Then, the sword hit the group of people without any fancy moves. It was like the sharpest weapon in the world. It carried the power of the origin and instantly killed the dozens of devil race powerhouses. Their bodies were reduced to dust in the blink of an eye, and not even a speck of dust was left behind. Then, the light sword didn't lose its momentum. It brazenly slashed into the Tian Fa world, causing the world to be turned upside down. It exploded with a terrifying power that had never been seen before. Rumble. A loud sound shook the sky. Rocks flew through the sky. Heaven and earth rotated. The Tian Fa world, which was originally very difficult to shake, suffered a huge shock at this moment. However, everything was derived from the Tian Fa Tao patterns. It was stable and powerful. In the end, it was forcefully stabilized again. In the distance, Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yin were stunned when they saw this scene. They had never thought that Du Xiaofu could perform such a terrifying attack. A group of 6th and 7th sky of immortal realm experts of the demon race were killed in the blink of an eye. Du Xiaofu. Dongli Qihuang clenched his fists. He clenched his teeth so hard that they almost broke. The hundreds of dead immortal realm experts of the demon race were the strongest force left in the divine demon battlefield. If they couldn't kill Du Xiaofu, they couldn't think of any other way to subdue him. He must die. Du Xiaofu must die. Shun Yan's face was solemn. His face was terrifyingly gloomy. Du Xiaofu's performance made him fearful like never before. Everything about that brat was getting more and more strange. However, they had tried everything. Since the incident in Qian Su Jinghua Heaven, they had tried to kill him several times. However, they had failed at the last step. Presently, unless His Excellency personally makes a move, otherwise, wanting to kill Du Xiaofu would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. There's still a chance. At this moment, coldness shot out from Dongli Qihuang's eyes. He clenched his teeth and said, Du Xiaofu hasn't broken the Tianfei Dao yet. If he can't resist it, he won't be able to escape death in the end. Hearing this, Shun Yan's expression froze. Boundless hope rose in his heart. The power of heavenly punishment was not ordinary. Although Du Xiaofu's final sword strike was incomparably powerful, it had probably exhausted him to the extreme. If he wanted to truly break through heavenly punishment, the chances were slim. When they thought up to here, they looked at the Tianfei Dao with burning eyes. They wanted to witness the last hope. In the heavenly punishment world, Du Xiaofu's scarlet demonic monkey primordial spirit felt a wave of weakness. He quickly retreated, and under the power of the indestructible Xian body, his body slowly reformed and returned to human form. People of the demon race, you deserve to die. His eyes narrowed as he said this, but at the same time, he rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, those demon experts were affected by the Tianfei Dao, and their strength was greatly suppressed. Otherwise, with his cultivation, he wouldn't have been able to kill them so easily. It's just that the Tianfei Dao is really difficult to break. However, the moment Du Xiaofu recovered, the surrounding pressure surged toward him again. Chapter 28:51. At this time, Du Xiaofu had already exhausted himself to a very serious extent. He had forcefully used the immortal Xian body to restore his shattered body back to human form. However, the surrounding heaven's punishment power was not destroyed by that domineering sword strike. In just a moment, the terrifying oppressive power attacked again, from all directions, without any blind spots, fiercely pressing down on his body, wanting to crush him into powder. Du Xiaofu's heart grew even more serious. He understood clearly where the strength of this heaven's punishment world lay. It was not the power of the great Tao itself, but this world that was born from the great Tao. The most terrifying thing about this place was this world. If they could get rid of it, they would be able to easily survive this dangerous situation. However, seeing through all this did not mean that he could definitely break out of this situation. At the very least, Du Xiaofu's injuries were extremely severe. After the self-detonation of the devil race, Du Xiaofu was already heavily injured and did not have much strength left to fight against Tianfei. If he was at his peak, he could still fight, and the chances were very high. Heaven's punishment of the great Tao, if I don't fight, how would I know if I can't resist it? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. He silently took out a few jade green lotus leaves from his chinkuan bag, then stuffed them into his mouth and chewed. The lotus from before had already been eaten up by him, but these lotus leaves and lotus flowers were also very extraordinary. Under the turbulent surge of vigorous energy, Du Xiaofu's body quickly recovered, and his strength also increased gradually, his aura rising. But during this process, the surrounding pressure continued to envelop him, causing his increased strength to be consumed rapidly. I don't believe in this evil. Under the attack of the terrifying heaven's punishment world, Du Xiaofu's body that had recovered with great difficulty exploded again, and blood gushed out like a fountain. He roared and took out precious medicines one after another, stuffing them all into his mouth like he was swallowing dates. The medicinal power was crazily refined by him, using it to resist the external pressure. However, doing so would still be a futile effort in the end. No matter how strong the medicinal efficacy was, it was simply not enough to balance out the energy consumed. Outside the heavenly punishment world, boundless joy welled up in the hearts of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin as they watched this scene. Soon, Du Xiaofu won't be able to hold out for much longer. If he was at his peak, he might have had a chance to break through the great way of heaven's punishment. However, under the attacks of so many experts of my clan, Du Xiaofu was unable to escape death in the end. As long as he dies, our demon race will no longer be a threat. No one will be able to pose a threat to our Lord. Die, die. The more miserable his death, the better. Both of them prayed in their hearts, hoping that Du Xiaofu would die quickly so that they could breathe a sigh of relief. As long as that kid fell, the hundreds of undyings would all die a worthy death. Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin both looked at the Tian Fa world with sparkling eyes. They wanted to see Du Xiaofu die with their own eyes. On the other side, the disciples of the various superpowers also began to try to approach the Tian Fa world after weighing the dangers for a while. Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, Teng Yuanshan, Zhang Haoren, and the others were among them. They also saw the scene of Du Xiaofu on the verge of death under the attacks of so many undyings of the demon race. At that time, the hearts of these experts were all in their throats. While they were worried for Du Xiaofu, they were also angry at the despicable and sinister actions of the demon race. However, they didn't have enough strength to do anything. They could only watch everything happen with their own eyes. However, when Du Xiaofu suddenly wielded his sword and killed more than a dozen high-level undyings of the demon race, everyone was inexplicably excited and almost wanted to howl. That kind of sword was too overbearing and rarely seen in the world. Even high-level undyings would find it difficult to use it. This caused everyone to be even more certain of one thing, and it was that Du Xiaofu was indeed at the legendary Void Dao realm at this moment. The demon race is too despicable. If not for them, it might not be impossible for the Emperor God to successfully break through the great path heavenly punishment. His situation is not good now. He has used up too much energy. If this continues, it will be even more disadvantageous for him. If he can really withstand it, it will definitely affect the overall situation of the 33 heavens. Yes, grasping the 4 primordial laws at the same time and reaching the virtual path realm. No matter which one is released, it is enough to make the world go crazy. The Emperor God will definitely succeed. He has created too many miracles. He definitely won't fall at this step. Everyone couldn't help but discuss. They wanted to see Du Xiaofu succeed in resolving the crisis. Everyone present could imagine that once the purple-robed youth succeeded, the entire 33 heavens would be shaken by this news. This was too crazy. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have dared to believe it. It was also because of this that many people hoped that Du Xiaofu would succeed. They wanted to witness the birth of this miracle. Those 2 demons are still eyeing us covetously from the side. Damn it. Suimo Yan's gaze turned and shot towards Dongli Qihuang and Shan Yan, his eyes filled with killing intent. If it weren't for the fact that the 2 of them were too strong, the young disciples of the transcendent Chang Rong sect would probably have gone up to fight them to vent their frustrations. Let's wait a little longer. When we are needed, we can't hesitate. With our combined strength, we should be able to restrain one of them, Xiao Yun said at this time to the crowd. Everyone nodded slightly when they heard this. They had already sent out experts to summon more people. It wouldn't be long before they gathered here. A demon clan expert at the first sky of a mortal realm and a complete true severing realm expert from transcendent Changrong sky should be able to withstand a single blow. Even if the other party had mastered 2 primordial laws and was very strong. Soon after, no one said anything. They focused all their attention on the purple-robed young man in the heavenly punishment world. Du Xiaofu had swallowed a large amount of elixirs and was crazily refining them. However, he still couldn't make up for the huge consumption. His body was in tatters, and he was in great pain. His face was contorted, and painful howls came from his throat. Even if it is the power of the great path, how can it stop me? These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. His black hair danced wildly, and he looked as terrifying as a blood-soaked demon king. Du Xiaofu actually gave up on resisting the terrifying pressure as he refined the medicinal efficacy with all his might. The energy produced by the elixirs flowed through his body and was gathered by him. He began to madly urge the 4 primordial laws. Sizzle. His immortal Shin body was cracking. His flesh and blood were flying everywhere from the pressure. One of his arms turned into a bloody mist in an instant. Bang! Du Xiaofu's chest exploded, revealing his pulsating, scarlet organs. Every part of his body was badly damaged. However, he still clenched his teeth tightly and endured all of this with his body of flesh and blood. Buzz! And under Du Xiaofu's full control, the power of the 4 primordial laws boiled and began to split and evolve. Just like before, an 8-trigram diagram appeared once more, occupying the void. Dazzling divine light filled the void and rippled in the heavenly punishment world. The 8 trigrams continued to evolve, and a wheel appeared. The power of thousands of primordial laws vibrated within it. Ah! Terrifying roars came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth continuously, as if tearing the heavens and splitting the earth. He felt great pain. In his exploded chest, his internal organs exploded into a bloody mist, shaking the entire heavenly punishment world. Even if you are the great Tao, how can you stop me? The same words were shouted out once again. His voice was hoarse. During this process, Du Xiaofu's body had been destroyed to the extreme. His 4 limbs no longer existed, and his chest had turned into a bloody mist. Only a bloody head was left. How can you stop me? After the final roar was let out, the head also shattered. The Scarlet Horse Monkey's Yuan spirit charged out and occupied the sky. Open for me! Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit released a terrifying wave, causing the heavenly punishment world to tremble. Accompanied by such a loud roar, the wheel around him emitted an ear-piercing buzzing sound, piercing through gold and splitting stone. Under this buzzing sound, all tangible objects in the heavenly punishment world exploded, turning it into a mess. Following that, the primordial laws intertwined and evolved. The 4 primordial laws gave birth to countless minute primordial laws and began to merge and condense. Finally, it turned into a sword of light that pierced through the heavens and the earth. Open! Crash! The sword of light slashed down and ruthlessly cut through the heavenly punishment world, piercing through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This sword of light condensed all of Du Xiaofu's strength and squeezed out every bit of strength in his body. It directly cut through the entire heavenly punishment world. In the distance, Dongli Qihuang, Shun Yin, Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, Zhang Haoren, Teng Yuanshan, and the rest watched in shock. The terrifying heavenly punishment world was like a huge mountain that was cut in half by the sword of Qin Tian, falling powerlessly to the sides. Rumble, terrifying vibrations continued to be emitted. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The sky and earth were turning upside down. The space and time were in chaos. Everything was exploding. In the broken heavenly punishment world, tens of thousands of mountains collapsed and thousands of waves roared. Everything was completely shattered in this place, turning into a terrifying energy that flowed out. It was like a flood that rushed in all directions, shaking the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Such a terrifying scene stunned many of the onlooking experts. The clusters of terrifying energy surged towards them at an indescribable speed. At this moment, everyone was shocked by this spectacular scene. It was difficult for them to speak, but at the same time, they were also filled with despair. Under the impact of the terrifying energy, they simply did not have the time to escape. If they were directly engulfed, they would probably die too easily. Chi, however, after the destructive energy swept out, it quickly dissipated and turned into Tao patterns. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the void as if it had never appeared. Not long after, the entire world was silent. Everything no longer existed. It was terrifyingly quiet. It's over just like that? After a long time, someone suddenly opened his mouth and said such a sentence. The heavenly punishment world is broken. It's broken. It's really broken. It's too terrifying. That terrifying energy of the heavenly punishment was actually broken. If that sword was used normally, I'm afraid even an expert at the 5th sky of a mortal realm would have a grievance. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's actually such a powerful existence in this world. He's just broken through to the true severing realm, but he's already this strong. The Void Path Realm, the legendary Void Path Realm. Someone has really reached it. The young disciples of the Supreme Changrong Sky were all boiling. Everyone was shocked to the point where they couldn't feel anything. Even at this moment, they still couldn't believe that there was someone in this world who could break through to the Void Path Realm and successfully resist the heavenly punishment of the Great Tao. It was too terrifying. Once the heavenly punishment world was broken, it meant that the purple-robed young man had stabilized his foundation in this realm. Compared to the normal first sky of a mortal realm from the complete severing realm, he was countless times stronger. It was absolutely shocking. Du Xiaofu's name would definitely spread in the 33 heavens. Everyone would go crazy for him. Even the meditative forgetfulness realm experts wouldn't be an exception. The Void Path Realm. It was the Void Path Realm. It had never appeared since the Great War of the Demon Clan in the ancient era. Yu Qing Divine Emperor, is he still alive? Just as everyone was getting excited, a weak voice suddenly rang out. Although it wasn't loud, it clearly entered the ears of every powerhouse. Hearing this, the disciples who were still clamoring suddenly became like ducks that had their throats pinched. In the blink of an eye, they didn't make any sound. They were immersed in the great shock and had neglected this fact. Du Xiaofu's final attack must have gathered all of his power. Moreover, under the pressure of the terrifying world, they didn't know if he could survive or not. After all, the injuries that those devil experts had inflicted on him were simply too great. If Du Xiaofu couldn't survive, what was the point of being shocked? Nobody talked anymore. They opened their eyes wide, looking forward. They wanted to find Du Xiaofu's trace, even if it was just a beam of his primordial spirit power. No one made a sound. They all wore a solemn face. However, as far as they could see, there was no energy fluctuation. Du Xiaofu's aura didn't remain. This made them feel as if their hearts were hit hard. They felt sad and sad. Mwahaha, Du Xiaofu, you're finally dead? Dongli Qihuang's gloomy laughter sounded. When it entered everyone's ears, he laughed happily, and the gloominess in his heart was swept away. Du Xiaofu's final attack was naturally terrifying and peerless, but the explosion of the heavenly punishment world was no joke. It didn't hurt anyone, but it didn't mean that Du Xiaofu could really resist it. Du Xiaofu had already exhausted all of his strength at that time. It was easy for him to be obliterated in an instant. No matter how peerless you are, how can you fight with the demon clan? Du Xiaofu, your life is already glorious enough. You almost killed a demon god. Even in the underworld, it's enough for you to smile proudly. So, you can rest in peace. Mwahaha. The corners of Qian Yan's mouth curled up as he spoke slowly. It had to be said that Du Xiaofu was indeed a heaven-defying character. From his early days in a small world until now, he had done things that ordinary people couldn't do. Even as an enemy, Qian Yin couldn't help but feel some admiration for him. However, this kind of admiration couldn't compare to the countless grudges between the two sides. Du Xiaofu's death made Qian Yin feel indescribably relaxed. The great enemy of the demon clan was finally eliminated. Has the divine emperor really fallen? Tung Yuanshan and Zhang Haoran both felt sad. This kind of result was hard for them to accept. Brother Du, Xiao Yun muttered with a wooden expression on his face. He and Du Xiaofu had known each other for a long time. Although they hadn't experienced too many trials, their friendship was still quite good. At this time, he didn't notice the existence of the purple-robed youth, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. AI, Suimo Yin of the Huanchu Holy Land suddenly sighed and said dejectedly, such a peerless genius actually fell here. The heavens are blind, the heavens are unfair. He sighed and felt that it was a pity for Du Xiaofu's death. A rare genius had died like this. If news of this spread out, the entire 33 heavens would mourn for him. It's all the demon clan's fault. If it wasn't for them, I believe that the Yu Qing Divine Emperor would definitely be able to resist the heavenly punishment. At this time, the Holy Son of the true Yin Holy Land, Qi Yuanlin's eyes suddenly shrank as he glanced at Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin in the distance. When the others heard this, they also looked over at the same time. The demon clan. In the ancient times, The demon clan had caused chaos in the 33 heavens, causing great suffering. However, that was an ancient matter after all. Although these young disciples swore to kill the demon clan, they didn't have much hatred for the demon clan. However, at this moment, a different feeling arose in their hearts. Most of them didn't have any relationship with Du Xiaofu, but they had endless admiration for him. Du Xiaofu died because of the demon clan. A seed of hatred grew in their hearts, especially the two from the Yuqing divine kingdom. They wanted nothing more than to charge forward and fight to the death with Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. Kakik, a bunch of chickens and pottery dogs. Do you want to fight with the two of us? Dongli Qihuang sensed the gazes of these people and sneered. The many young disciples of the transcendent Chang Rong heaven felt a chill in their hearts. If they fought, they would only be bullied by the other party. These were two immortal existences, and both had mastered two primordial laws. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. However, just as the two sides were feeling the opposite of each other, a clear voice rang out, "In this world, the demon clan will not be allowed to run rampant." Chapter 28:52. Everyone's expression froze, and a strange feeling arose in their hearts. However, in the next instant, the crowd burst into an uproar. Divine Emperor, that's the Divine Emperor's voice. Yuqing Divine Emperor, he's not dead. He's still alive. That's great. He didn't die, and he successfully resisted the great Tao heavenly punishment. The Divine Emperor is still alive. He's still alive. The group of young disciples couldn't help but feel excited. Their excitement was evident in their words, and the crowd was almost jumping for joy. They definitely didn't hear wrongly that voice. It was undoubtedly the young Yuqing Divine Emperor. Swoosh! Under everyone's gaze, a purple gold light suddenly flashed in the void in front of them. Then, the light grew bigger and bigger, and finally condensed into the appearance of the purple-robed youth, who was looking at everyone with a burning gaze. In an instant, Dongli Qihuang and Shun Yan's hearts trembled violently. The two demon servants' expressions were extremely solemn, and their faces were so gloomy that it seemed like water was about to drip out of them. Du Xiaofu, you're actually still alive. Dongli Qihuang gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter, and his heart was filled with hatred. He never would have thought that Du Xiaofu actually didn't die, and actually survived that terrifying Great Tao heavenly punishment. This made him feel the seriousness of the matter, and his heart was heavy and extremely solemn. He actually didn't die. He actually didn't die, Shen Yin muttered incessantly, and monstrous waves surged in his eyes. Du Xiaofu's survival under the great path of heavenly punishment meant that he had successfully taken that crucial step. As an expert who reincarnated from the ancient era, Shen Yin naturally knew his current cultivation level. Now, it was already impossible for the two of them to kill him. Dongli Qihuang, Shen Yin, if you want to fight, there's no need for the others to do it. Why don't you let me accompany you to the end? Du Xiaofu stepped into the air and walked towards the crowd. At the last moment, when he had used his sword to break open the Tian Fa world, he had immediately hidden in the desolate ancient space. Otherwise, he would have been like an arrow at the end of its flight. Even if the real heavenly punishment had begun to dissipate, the terrifying aftershocks would have killed him 100 times over. In addition, there was time acceleration in the desolate ancient space. After a short period of recovery, and with the help of many precious medicines, he had recovered about 10% of his strength. However, this 10% of his strength shouldn't be too difficult to deal with Chen Yin and the Eastern Flame Crimson Phoenix after he broke through. Hee, demons, didn't you want to fight? Our Divine Emperor has come out. Why aren't you two talking? Zhang Haoran suddenly chuckled, looked at Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin and shouted, Hee, that's right. Weren't you quite arrogant just now? Make your move. A young man from one of the other factions stepped forward and said, Haha, why don't you dare to make your move? Aren't the demons always arrogant? Trash that bullies the weak and fears the strong. Come if you have the ability. Yuqing Divine Emperor has spoken. Make your move. Go, idiots of the demons. Soon, many experts began to clamor. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's reappearance boosted their confidence. Even if they were facing two immortal realm experts, they were no longer afraid. With the presence of the purple-robed young man, these two demons were nothing to worry about. It should be known that Yuqing Divine Emperor had reached the legendary realm of Virtual Tao. Although no one had seen this realm before, it was unimaginably powerful. Two experts at first sky of a mortal realm could only be trampled on in front of him. Faced with so many people pointing at them, Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan's faces became darker and darker. They were furious. They couldn't wait to tear these people into pieces with their eyes. However, they didn't dare to say anything. With Du Xiaofu's intimidation, they didn't dare to be presumptuous. I never would have guessed that you were demons. Du Xiaofu walked slowly in the air, step by step, towards Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. As he walked, he said, "But now I finally understand why you appeared during the great calamity of the devil religion in Shenwu world and killed the remnants of the devil religion. And the demon god died at Jiangxin's hands." As Du Xiaofu spoke, his tone became sorrowful. At the same time, his voice carried a hint of disappointment and sadness. He lowered his gaze, his eyes shining with a faint light. He sighed again and again. Du Xiaofu, so what if you understand? Don't think you can stop the demon's grand plan with just you. Dongli Qihuang snorted coldly, then looked at Du Xiaofu. However, Du Xiaofu ignored him. As if talking to himself, he continued, "Now I finally understand. Even if I hadn't dealt with the demon god back then, you would have done so. Jiangxin would only be able to obtain a portion of the demon god's power if he died, and thus increase his strength. I'm afraid there are other forces in the fiend god battle realm that possess the same power as the demon god, right? So, is Jiangxin here as well?" When he finished speaking, he looked up and stared straight at the two of them. In fact, long before entering the fiend god battle realm, Du Xiaofu had learned that the demon god had escaped from here. Then, he wondered if there were other nascent spirits of the demon ancestor in the fiend god battle realm. Now that he'd confirmed the identities of Dongli Qihuang, Chen Yin, and Jiangxin, it wasn't difficult to imagine that the truth was as he'd guessed. They must have come here for a reason. It was very likely that Jiangxin really was here. Du Xiaofu, there's no harm in telling you. His Excellency really is here. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to kill you because of their old friendship, you wouldn't have survived even if you had 10,000 lives. Chen Yan's words were gloomy and carried a sinister aura. Off to the side, many young experts began to gather around. They listened in on Du Xiaofu and the two demons' conversation, but none of them interfered. Long ago, they'd learned that the Yuqing Divine Emperor was acquainted with the two demons, and that there was an extremely deep grudge between them. This puzzled them greatly. After all, there seemed to be no trace of the demons in the 33 heavens. Now that the two sides were talking, everyone wanted to hear something from their conversation. "Is that so?" said Du Xiaofu coolly. He looked at the two demons and said, "Since Jiangxin is here, why didn't he come see me? If he wants to kill me, he should have done it himself. There's no need to talk about our old friendship. Since I've tacitly agreed to your attack on me, there's no need to talk about our old friendship." Du Xiaofu's words were extremely calm, without the slightest ripple of emotion. It was as if he was narrating an insignificant matter, but in reality, he couldn't calm down no matter what. After learning that Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin were demons, Du Xiaofu had been able to guess a few things. But now that he'd received confirmation from them, his heart was in turmoil. Back in Divine Martial World, he'd been on good terms with Jiangxin. Jiangxin had helped him many times. Du Xiaofu couldn't accept this reality. He didn't want to accept Jiangxin's true identity. But then again, this was an established fact. He couldn't change it just because he wanted to. He had to face it sooner or later. Du Xiaofu, don't think that just because you broke through to the Void Dao realm, you can fight against our excellency. You're far from worthy. Chun Yin harumphed coldly again. Whether or not I'm worthy of fighting Jiangxin isn't something you can decide. Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly narrowed. He suppressed all the emotions in his heart and said, "But since he won't come out, I'll deal with you first. Back in Divine Martial World, I was able to suppress you so many times. I can still do it now." When he finished speaking, Du Xiaofu's voice exploded like thunder. It was as if he'd killed his way through the 9 heavens. As soon as he finished speaking, he shot forward and pounced towards Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. Terrifying power of laws boiled around him. The 4 primordial laws intertwined and fused with each other, causing strands of dazzling divine radiance to appear. Everywhere he passed, the heavens and the earth made way for him. At the same time, numerous Tao inscriptions flew around the violet-robed young man and surrounded him. It made Du Xiaofu seem like a peerless lord who possessed oppressive might. The origin energy of the laws is so terrifying. Such a scene caused all the young experts in the surroundings to be stunned. The divine radiance contained the quintessence energy of the laws, and all of them sensed a terrifying aura of destruction from it. The Void Tao had already fused with a portion of the quintessence energy of the laws, and it had even produced the aura of the Tao. When Du Xiaofu executed it, it was truly terrifying, and they didn't dare arouse the slightest thought of resisting. The hairs on Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan's bodies stood on end when they witnessed such a scene. The quintessence energy combined with the aura of the Tao was truly too terrifying, and it caused both of them to feel extremely fearful. Retreat. Chen Yan didn't even hesitate to instruct them and flee swiftly. Meanwhile, Du Xiaofu had recovered a portion of his strength, so they didn't have the ability to kill him anymore. If they fought him forcefully, then it would only be the 2 of them that died in the end. You want to flee? Do you think you can? As Du Xiaofu said that, he waved his hand. With a swoosh sound, a large area of light shot out from his palm, spreading in the void. Those light beams quickly changed and combined, creating a large area of stripes of the principle, releasing the energy of the origin. They created a net of the principle, covering the 2 of them. You want to kill us? Du Xiaofu, you're not strong enough. Dongli Qihuang shouted hurriedly. The demon aura on his body boiled, and the principle of matter condensed into an unparalleled demon saber, slashing down. At the same time, waves of soul laws spread out like waves of water, rapidly penetrating and swimming through the net of laws. Break for me. Chun Yin also moved. He raised a giant, pitch-black sword in his hand, thrusting it fiercely. Sizzle. Sizzle. The 2 demon servants at the first sky of Immortal Realm attacked at the same time. Moreover, each of them had mastered 2 primitive principles. They were incomparably terrifying. In a flash, they cut a hole in the net of the principle that Du Xiaofu had created. The 2 of them flashed through the gap, flying far away. They didn't dare to linger. Facing such a scene, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and quickly followed them. However, he didn't continue to attack. Previously, he had resisted the self-detonation of many Immortal Realm experts of the Demon Clan and the terrifying Great Path of Heaven's punishment. At this moment, he had only recovered about 10% of his strength. It wouldn't be easy for him to take down Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. Let's go. Let's go and see. Suemo of the Huanchu Holy Land waved his hand and took the lead, following Du Xiaofu's footsteps and chasing after Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. The others didn't need to say anything. They all moved at the same time. Their speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, many figures disappeared from their original places. While chasing after them, Du Xiaofu slowed down a lot, maintaining the same speed as Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. He didn't want to kill the 2 of them quickly. He just wanted to follow them from a distance. As he traveled through the air, he slowly recovered his strength. Du Xiaofu, if you want to die, just chase after us. Chen Yin fled for his life while turning around and shouting loudly at Du Xiaofu. It's just a bluff. Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid at all. He didn't fall behind. When he recovered some of his strength, he directly used the law of space to block the 2 of them. Without saying a word, he instantly attacked. Terrifying law origin power surged, mixed with Tao patterns, and swept towards the 2 demon attendants. The 2 of them were forced to stop and fight with Du Xiaofu. Needless to say, people that had grasped 2 primeval laws were indeed extremely formidable. Moreover, it was the 2 of them fighting together. Under such circumstances, Du Xiaofu, who had only recovered a little more than 10% of his strength, was forcefully resisted by them. The terrifying battle shook the heavens and the earth. The reddish-black soil in the fiend god battlefield was lifted up layer by layer, and the sky collapsed piece by piece, transforming into a chaotic state. The three of them fought as they walked, heading deeper into the fiend god battlefield. Du Xiaofu wasn't in a hurry to fight them head-on. He only wanted to delay the two of them and kill them with a single strike when he recovered to a certain extent. He didn't give them any chance to escape. Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan exerted all their strength and broke through Du Xiaofu's blockade time and time again, but they were stopped time and time again. This kind of battle continued for more than 3 months. In the end, the two demon attendants suffered heavy injuries, and the strength that Du Xiaofu had recovered was also consumed to its original level. It had been maintained at 10% of its original strength, and because of this battle, their speed slowed down too much. Only in the 5th month, they were caught up by the disciples of the various large factions. At this time, they had already gathered a scale of no less than 1 million people, and they were all truth-severing realm experts. Those seizing divinity realm experts were all scattered, and no one could keep up with the footsteps of these experts. 1 million people was already equivalent to less than half of the truth-severing realm cultivators that had entered the fiend god battlefield. It was an extremely terrifying force. Because this matter involved the devil race, no one didn't want to see the final result. Damn it! In the battle, Dongli Qihuang couldn't help but curse loudly. Not to mention a terrifying existence like Du Xiaofu. Even if they were surrounded by the million slayers, the two of them would be exhausted to death. The situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous, but Du Xiaofu was too close. It was difficult for the two of them to escape. Du Xiaofu, if you really want to die so badly, I'll fulfill your wish. Shen Yan's voice was extremely cold. He broke through Du Xiaofu's blockade again and roared savagely. I know you definitely have other tricks up your sleeve. Go ahead and use them. See if I'm afraid. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly, his tone deep. In truth, he'd followed them for another reason. He wanted to find out where Jiangshan was and meet with his old friend. There were some things he wanted to ask him personally. As he spoke, Du Xiaofu's palm swept through the air. The origin of laws was vast and mighty, and Tao inscriptions surged endlessly as they spread through the air. Everywhere they passed, everything silently transformed into a state of chaos. This scene was so terrifying that the many young experts who'd followed them were dumbfounded. What terrifying strength! After breaking through, the Yuqing Divine Emperor is much stronger than ordinary Neverwither realm cultivators. He's probably only recovered a little. If he were at his peak, these two demons wouldn't even have the right to resist him. The Divine Emperor is too terrifying. His talent and comprehension are unparalleled. No one in the world can compare to him. This is the illusory realm, a terrifying realm that only exists in legends. It's hard to imagine how far the Yuqing Divine Emperor will go in the future. Let's kill these two demons. With them around, the fiend god battlefield won't be peaceful. If we kill them, we can continue exploring and reap the benefits. Otherwise, all the disciples who've entered this place won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Don't worry, the Yuqing Divine Emperor won't let them escape so easily. They're dead for sure. Divine Emperor, hurry up and kill these two. Many of the young experts couldn't help but discuss among themselves. They were all shocked by Du Xiaofu's strength. The purple-robed young man had withstood the self-detonation attacks of many devils, and he had also resisted the great Tao heavenly punishment. However, even though he was exhausted to the extreme, he was still able to chase the two powerful devils to the point where they had nowhere to go. This made everyone feel extremely happy. Every young disciple of the transcendent Chong Rong Heaven was filled with endless emotions. They were impressed by the Yuqing Divine Emperor's strength and were filled with awe and respect. No one could imagine what realm Du Xiaofu would eventually reach and what heights he would stand at. If he could break through the illusory realm, wouldn't he be able to reach the carrier realm? If that was true, it would be even more terrifying. While everyone was thinking about this, they also hoped that Du Xiaofu would be able to kill the two demons as soon as possible. Otherwise, many of the young disciples would be in danger in the fiend god battlefield. They didn't dare to forget about the hundreds of immortal realm demons that had appeared earlier. Thinking about it this way, It was not difficult to guess that there were probably even more demons gathered here. It was definitely an incomparably terrifying force. Du Xiaofu was very strong, but he couldn't split himself. If the two demons escaped, the situation would be extremely bad. If the hidden demons came out in full force and were led by the two immortal realm demons, the situation would be dire. It wouldn't be good news for anyone. Chapter 28:53. Du Xiaofu's palm swept through the sky towards Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. The energy of the laws that filled the sky shook, and it carried the aura of the Tao as it crushed down, causing the two demon attendants to not dare resist it at all, and they could only run for their lives. When this palm struck them, it struck them to the point they coughed up blood without end, and their bodies split apart. It was a tragic sight. "Let's go." Dongli Qihuang's expression was extremely savage as he roared fiercely, and then he flashed forward with Chen Yin without even looking back. "Du Xiaofu, don't even think of killing us." Chen Yin howled as well, and his eyes were suffused with a ghastly devilish glow. He suddenly raised his head and suddenly let out a string of long howls that swiftly spread out as if he was sending out some sort of signal. However, not long after this howl finished, a pitch-black light suddenly appeared in the distant dark horizon, and it emanated a boundless and dense aura of blood. Enormous rumbling sounds faintly resounded from the horizon, and it grew louder and louder. It was like an army of thousands of galloping horses and howling as it tore through space and arrived. As expected, they still have a backup plan. Du Xiaofu's brows knit together tightly when he saw such a scene, and he muttered to himself. There was no need to guess the enormous scene in the distance. It was definitely an army of devils, but he didn't know how many formidable existences there were among them. He turned around and glanced at the million experts from the supreme Changrong heaven. They were all at the true severing realm, and if a large number of eternal realm experts appeared in the devil race, then it was absolutely not good news. Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid of himself, but he was afraid that these young disciples would suffer too many losses if they fought. Is it the devil race? There was no need for Du Xiaofu to remind them, and the young disciples quickly noticed the seriousness of the matter. Everyone. It's time for everyone to join forces and fight a bloody battle. The devil race army has appeared. If there's anyone who's afraid of death, then it's better to retreat as soon as possible so as to avoid losing your life. Du Xiaofu turned around and transmitted his voice to the disciples of the supreme Changrong heaven. When the million people heard this, more than half of them were instantly filled with fighting spirit. They were not afraid at all. However, there were still some people who had the intention to retreat. It seemed that they didn't want to die in vain here. The demon race is the common enemy of all life in the 33 heavens. We will naturally fight the demon race to the end. Xiao Yun walked out of the crowd and spoke loudly to Du Xiaofu. Soon after, he changed the topic and asked, "However, Brother Du, all of us have a question that we would like to know. You seem to be old acquaintances with those two devils, so where exactly are they from?" The other experts all looked at Du Xiaofu, wanting to hear his answer. This was a question that everyone had in mind. "I came from a small world and met these two people many years ago, but at that time, they were still normal humans. But now, it seems that these two are the reincarnations of the devil race's experts from back then. They have awakened their memories in this life." Du Xiaofu didn't hide anything and transmitted his voice to the young disciples. He didn't explain much and only gave a simple explanation. However, these simple words caused the expressions of the disciples of the supreme Changrong heaven to become extremely serious. It wasn't hard for them to imagine that the Yuqing Divine Emperor must have had many disputes and grievances with the two immortal rank experts of the devil race in the small world. Perhaps, after they came to the 33 heavens, they wanted to kill Du Xiaofu for other reasons. The reincarnations of ancient experts. Is the demon race trying to make a comeback? Huanchu Holy Land's Saint Sun Suimo Yan's eyes had already sunk. His heart was filled with boundless solemnity. The other holy sons and holy daughters also thought of this. At the beginning, they thought that the two people were just the remnants of the devil race in the celestial demon battlefield. They didn't think that they really came from the outside world. There are many remnants of the devil race in the celestial demon battlefield. Are they trying to gather their old subordinates and continue to wreak havoc in the 33 heavens? Qi Yuanlin, the holy son of the true Yin holy ground, said with a deep look in his eyes. If they continued to speculate like this, it was easy to figure out the purpose of Dongli Chihuang and Shen Yin entering the celestial demon battlefield. The scene in front of them, where thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping in the sky, was already very good evidence of this point. The Devil Race army was summoned by the two people. This meant that Dongli Chihuang and Shen Yin had already met with the remnants of the Devil Race. Previously, they had even led hundreds of immortal realm experts to attack Du Xiaofu. Disciples of the Huan Chu holy ground, listen to my orders. Prepare to fight. Suemo Yin suddenly shouted in a deep voice. The aura of his entire body was vast and mighty. The terrifying power of the rules spread out in the void. The cultivation of the complete true, severing realm shook without reservation, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Disciples of the true Yin holy ground, listen to my orders. Kill the devil race. Fight to the death. Qi Yuanlin also shouted, giving orders to the disciples of the true Yin holy ground behind him. Disciples of the Mirror Moon holy ground, follow me to fight the devil race. Lin Kaiyun shouted. Her colorful clothes fluttered, and her exquisite body moved into the air. Kill the devil race. Fight to the death. The disciples of the three holy grounds were boiling. Since they knew that the devil race had the intention of making a comeback, they could not let them run rampant. Only a bloody battle would be the best blow to them, even if they died. So what? It was also when the aura of the people of the holy grounds was like a rainbow that the black light in the distance became more and more dazzling. It had already approached where everyone was. Hee hee, Du Xiaofu, you want to kill us? You are simply wishful thinking. Shen Yin turned his head and said to Du Xiaofu with a cold smile. He had not stopped fleeing. Du Xiaofu also followed closely behind him, launching attacks from time to time. The celestial demon battlefield will definitely be your burial ground. Du Xiaofu, just wait for your death, Dongli Chihuang said savagely. He rushed forward and rushed in the direction of the Devil Race army. You're still bluffing at a time like this? Do you really think that I can't see that the army you summoned is just a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs? Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and said with a cold snort. He released the power of his origin spirit, covering the many devils that were getting closer and closer. Soon, he understood the situation of the Devil Race army. Wrapped in that black light, there were no less than 3 million Devil Race powerhouses coming over. Their momentum was aggressive, and they carried piercingly cold killing intent. But among these 3 million Devil Race powerhouses, there were not many true powerhouses. Du Xiaofu made a slight estimate. There were about 10 Eternal Realm powerhouses, and the strongest were only 3rd or 4th layer Eternal Realm. Truth-severing realm devils were much more, about as many as 600,000 to 700,000. As for the other 2 million plus devils, they looked densely packed, but in reality, most of them were only in the seizing deity realm. There were even hundreds of thousands of origin realm powerhouses among them. If such an army was in normal times, it would indeed be terrifying enough, and it was sufficient to rival the total number of young powerhouses in a divine kingdom. But one had to know that all the outstanding geniuses of the supreme Chong Rong heaven were gathered in the celestial demon battlefield, and there were even 1 million truth-severing realm powerhouses here. If they really charged, the Devil Race would absolutely not be able to gain any advantage, and such an outcome allowed Du Xiaofu to heave a slight sigh of relief. We'll talk about it after you survive the encirclement of my Devil Race army. Dongli Chihuang was slightly furious when Du Xiaofu saw through him, and he hooted hatefully once more before continuing to flee. Let's go. Chen Yin stared deeply at Du Xiaofu, and then he flashed out swiftly with Dongli Chihuang. Since I didn't allow the two of you to leave, then none of you can leave. These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, and then he suddenly slapped his palm towards the sky. After a rumbling sound resounded, the space before Dongli Chihuang and Chen Yin collapsed completely. The laws there were thrown into disorder, causing the space there to become extremely chaotic, and it was even impossible to move through space. Their footsteps were obstructed because of this. Kill. Du Xiaofu shouted as he suddenly charged forward and assaulted Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. Even though he'd only recovered around 10% of his strength at this moment, it was extremely terrifying when he attacked the two of them. Coupled with the fact that the two devil attendants didn't have the intention to continue fighting, they could only be in a passive state and suffer a beating. In next to no time, they were blasted flying by Du Xiaofu while devil blood sprayed through the air. Along with the ceaseless passage of time, the devil race army in the distance quickly arrived before them. A few million people charged forward at the same time, causing the heavens and the earth to tremble and space to tremble. It was like a long river, and enormous waves were surging over while whistling. Don't mind the others. Join hands to kill this kid first. The eastern departing Crimson Phoenix was sent flying by Du Xiaofu's palm. Its body drew a perfectly straight arc, crashing right into the formation of the Fiend Race Army, smashing down a swathe of people. After he steadied himself, he shouted at more than 10 immortal demons. Kill. After receiving Dongli Qihuang's order, the immortal demons all stormed out, directly attacking Du Xiaofu. You want to stop me with just a dozen of you? Du Xiaofu's voice was cold. The 9 god lightning cauldrons flew out, smashing 2 first sky of immortal realm experts away in just a blink of an eye. Today, after he had broken through the complete true severing realm and reached a new realm, his competence wasn't the same as before. Ordinary first sky of immortal realm experts weren't worth his attention. Kill this kid. However, in the face of Du Xiaofu's ferocious attacks, none of the devil race retreated. Like a swarm of bees, they swarmed towards Du Xiaofu, not fearing death. They wanted to fight with their lives on the line. In just an instant, the purple-robed youth's figure was drowned in the sea of people. Du Xiaofu, sooner or later, you will die without a burial ground. Looking at this scene, Dongli Qihuang coldly looked back and gritted his teeth. Let's go. Shen Yin called out. After that, he didn't care about the intense battle situation and flew away with Dongli Qihuang, continuing to madly escape. They knew that these millions of devil race experts wouldn't be able to stop Du Xiaofu. After all, Million Zhan was watching from the side. If they didn't leave quickly, the two of them would have to face the fate of being chased. There are so many devil race experts, but their overall strength doesn't seem to be too strong. Su Moyan muttered as he watched Du Xiaofu being besieged. With that, he waved his hand and shouted, "Disciples of Huanchu Holy Lands, follow me to kill the devil race. Kill." Tens of thousands of Huanchu Holy Lands true, severing realm disciples howled and rushed out, directly attacking the devil race army. Disciples of Qing Tsong Holy Lands, follow me to kill the devil race. Xiao Yun's figure rushed out, bringing tens of thousands of true, severing realm experts with him. Disciples of Zhanyin Holy Lands, follow me to kill. Disciples of Feng Lei Holy Lands, kill. Disciples of Mirror Moon Holy Lands, kill the devil race. Emperor Dragon Holy Lands, fight. Daoxin Holy Lands, kill. Startling Star Holy Lands, kill. Profound Sun Holy Lands, fight. 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 Disciples of Linggang Holy Lands, follow me to kill. As the shouts fell, the disciples of the various holy lands all rushed out, attacking the devil race. Nia Huang Divine Country, follow me to kill. Tai Divine Country, kill. Bright Origin Divine Country, charge. Purple Clouds Divine Country, kill the devil race. Some of the Divine Country's disciples also moved instantly. Together with the other holy lands, millions of people let out earth-shaking battle cries and rushed to the battlefield. Along with these people's movements, the encirclement of millions of devil race soldiers surrounding Du Xiaofu was broken in just a blink of an eye. In just one move, a large number of void-returning realm and god-seizing realm devils were killed. A few useless chickens and pottery dogs. They were just sent out to die. It was unknown when Du Xiaofu had raised the heavenly tower of purple gold in his hand. With one slash, he killed a second sky of immortal realm devil covered in scales, cutting him in half. Then, he controlled the 9 heavenly thunder cauldrons to suppress at the same time, smashing another third sky of immortal realm devil into a pile of meat paste. However, under this kind of battle, Du Xiaofu had consumed a lot of energy. Soon, he didn't even have half of his strength left. This kind of battle was too terrifying. He didn't want to lose Dongli Chihuang and Shen Yan's trace, so he had to risk his life. After paying a big price, Du Xiaofu quickly killed 5 Immortal Realm experts of the Demon Clan. He had cut down half of the enemy's top fighting force. Get lost. Du Xiaofu used his sword to push back another 4th sky of Immortal Realm expert. At the same time, he shouted hoarsely. He glanced at the direction Chen Yin and Eastern Flame Crimson Phoenix had left towards, and the energy of his soul core was on the verge of losing their tracks. If he still didn't pursue them, then it would probably be difficult to find them again. Stop him. Give them more time to leave. An expert of the Demon Clan screamed. They naturally knew that their millions of people were just cannon fodder to stop the advance of the human race. However, even though they knew this, none of the demons retreated. All of them unleashed their strongest attacks and fought with all their might. Kill those humans. The other demon clansmen had gone mad. They howled like rabid dogs that didn't care for their lives. The Million/'s true realm young elites were actually blocked by them, and their footsteps were firmly held back. The depths of the Fiend God battlefield. As he fought, Du Xiaofu gazed into the distance. He was looking in the direction Dongli Chihuang and Xin Yin had left. Jiangchen, are you there? He didn't know what was in the depths of the Fiend God battlefield, but according to Dongli Chihuang and Xin Yin, Jiangchen had also entered the Fiend God battlefield. Perhaps he really was there. Du Xiaofu really wanted to see Jiangchen. After all, they were old friends. There were some things he wanted to ask him in person. Go to hell, brat. While Du Xiaofu was lost in thought, a 4th sky of Immortal Realm expert attacked. He wielded an enormous demon saber, which he slashed at the purple-robed youth as if he were holding a mountain. Swoosh! The saber slashed down and knocked Du Xiaofu away. His immortal Xin body exploded. His tendons and bones were broken. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had consumed too much of his energy. Since the 4th sky of Immortal Realm expert was so strong, he was caught off guard and hurt badly. You're the one who should die. Du Xiaofu's eyes sharpened as he spoke fiercely. He gathered all the energy in his body. The origin of the 4 great laws boiled and created a Tao aura. A giant halo appeared and pressed down on the 4th sky of Immortal Realm expert. PFFF. Without any surprise, this devil race expert was instantly suppressed, and his primordial spirit was instantly destroyed. He was deader than dead. After this attack, Du Xiaofu's entire body went limp. He had used up all his energy. This kid can't resist anymore. Kill him. The remaining 5 Immortal Realm devils shouted excitedly. They were extremely excited. Before the 2 masters left, they had given an order. They didn't need to care about the others. They just needed to kill this kid. The best time had come. They were about to complete their mission. Yu Qing Divine Emperor, let us fight. At this moment, Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, and the other young experts at the complete true severing realm dashed over. Divine Emperor, leave the demons to us. Tang Yuanshan, Zhang Haoran, Meng Dongyang, and the others dashed over and stopped the demon expert's new attack on Du Xiaofu. Not only them, Yu Qingyin, Yu Changyao, Yu Yuran, and many other late-stage truth-severing cultivators who had long since gathered together also made a move. No less than 500 young elites made a move together, and only then did they barely manage to block the demon elite's accumulated power attack. Luckily, the 3rd and 4th sky of Immortal Realm demons were killed by Du Xiaofu. Otherwise, even if hundreds of true severing realm experts joined hands, they wouldn't be able to kill him in one move. Back off. These people can't do anything to me. Du Xiaofu heaved a sigh of relief. He kept stuffing precious medicines into his mouth and refining them like crazy. Although he had consumed a lot of energy, his life wasn't in danger yet. However, it was different for Suimo Yin, Xiao Yun, and Yu Chengyin. If they weren't careful, the remaining Immortal Realm experts of the Demon Clan could kill them instantly. Du Xiaofu didn't want to see this kind of result. Demons, don't even think about stopping me. Du Xiaofu suddenly stood up and controlled the 9 purple Thunder Xian cauldrons to attack one of the demons. Rumble. The The 9 cauldrons crushed the void and surrounded the demon from all directions. Then, they smashed down fiercely like a mountain, causing the demon's flesh and blood to fly everywhere. He had suffered terrible injuries. Kill. When Suemo Yin and the others saw this, they immediately swarmed forward and attacked with all their might. Soon, they suppressed the demon expert at the first sky of a mortal realm. Rumble. The 9 cauldrons moved again and blocked the other demons' attacks on Du Xiaofu. Those who block me, die. These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. Under his fierce power, another demon was suppressed. Chapter 28:54. Many young disciples of the transcendent Changrong sky took the opportunity to attack and kill the demon once again. At this time, the surrounding battle was also very intense. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu had 1,000,000 true severing experts on his side, which was about 300,000 to 400,000 more than the demons. In front of these 300,000 to 400,000 people, those God-seizing realm and virtual returning realm experts were unable to withstand a single blow. Very quickly, more than half of them died. Ha ha ha. Good kill. These demons deserve to die. Suemo Yin laughed loudly. With the cooperation of everyone in Du Xiaofu, these immortal realm experts of the demons would probably be killed in no time. Sure enough, as the situation of the battle became more and more intense, Du Xiaofu also executed all of his final techniques, and with the assistance of many true severing perfection stage experts, he killed all of the Devil Clan's immortal stage experts. Kill. As for the other demons, don't let a single one of them off. The disciples of the transcendent Changrong sky roared and charged fiercely at the demons with terrifying attacks. On the side of the demons, a large number of virtual returning realm and God-seizing realm experts died, exploding into clouds of blood mist in the void. Many of those true severing realm experts also died. Less than half of the 600,000 people were left. However, the young disciples of the various factions also suffered heavy casualties. At least 200,000 people died in the hands of the demons. The lords have all died. Our demons can't hold on anymore. The remaining demons saw their immortal realm experts being killed one by one, and no longer had the courage to continue fighting. Many people began to have the intention to retreat, wanting to escape. We can't hold on anymore. Retreat quickly. There was no meaning in continuing to fight. That purple-robed youth was still alive, and these true severing realm experts had no way of killing him. Run. Not long after, there were already demons who began to flee. Run. Run quickly. With someone taking the lead, a wave was set off, and even more people began to flee. As demons, even though they weren't afraid of death, the 2 demon attendants had already left, and the other undyings had all fallen. If they continued to fight, it would only increase the number of deaths they would have to face. Demons, where do you think you're going? The young disciples of the transcendent Changrong heaven all shouted as they gave chase. At this time, their eyes were bloodshot. No one was willing to let the devils off easily. Moreover, many of his acquaintances had died in the previous battle. Only by killing all of these devils could he vent the hatred in his heart. You can leave if you want, but leave your life behind first. Kill. Eliminate the demons. All the cultivators roared. Their weapons glowed, and a large amount of power of law boiled endlessly. They launched an earth-shattering pursuit towards the devil race. Once the thought of retreating arose, the consequences would be extremely terrifying. The entire demon race would be routed like a landslide. All the experts of the transcendent Changrong heaven gave chase at the same time, following closely behind. Those void reversion and God-sizing realm cultivators who did not flee fast enough were killed in droves and chopped into minced meat. Yuqing Divine Emperor, how are you doing? Suemo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, and the others were not in a hurry to pursue. They came to Du Xiaofu's side and asked him. The purple-robed young man had brought great shock to them. Breaking through to the empty path realm in the celestial demon war realm was something that had never happened before. It was impossible not to go crazy over it. If he could recover to his peak strength, not to mention those demon race experts, even if there were level 6 or level 7 immortal realm experts, they would still have a chance to fight him. I'm fine. I just used too much energy and need time to recover. Du Xiaofu waved his hand at the crowd and said, previously, after breaking through the great path of heaven's punishment, he had immediately fought with Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yan. After that, he was intercepted by many demon race experts. He had not had a chance to recover his strength. Moreover, in order to kill those powerful immortal realm experts, he had used up all his energy. At this time, he did not have much combat strength left and needed to rest. Emperor God, the two demon race experts have escaped. Their status in the demon race should not be low. Otherwise, millions of experts would not be willing to be cannon fodder for them. Tung Yuanshan came to Du Xiaofu's side and said, why don't you stay here and recover your strength? We will continue to pursue them. We have to get rid of the demon race army. He was a little worried. After all, Du Xiaofu had just broken through. If he used up too much energy, it would affect his cultivation foundation. That would be a big problem. Tung Yuanshan did not know much about the empty path realm. He did not want Du Xiaofu to hurt his foundation. No need. I won't let those two go. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and then said to the other forces, moreover, the demon race may have more forces in the celestial demon war realm that they can mobilize. The deeper we go, the greater the danger we may face. However, no matter what, I have to go there. As for you guys, it's up to you. If you are willing to hunt down the demon race, then come with me. If you are not willing, I won't force you. However, for safety reasons, I suggest that everyone stay together and concentrate their strength to avoid being ambushed. Du Xiaofu looked at Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, and the other leaders of the Holy Lands and Divine Kingdoms. There was no need to think about it. There were definitely powerful demon race experts in the depths of the celestial demon war realm. After all, Jiangshan was also here. However, Du Xiaofu wanted to meet the other party. No matter what, he had to make this trip. As for the disciples of the Holy Lands, he would not force them. After all, it was very dangerous. After hearing Du Xiaofu's words, many people fell into deep thought, weighing the pros and cons. Not long after, Suimo Yin raised his head and said, "You Qing Emperor, our Huanchu Holy Lands will go with you. Since there are many demon race experts in the celestial demon war realm, this place is no longer a safe place. We can be ambushed at any time. Rather than waiting to be killed, we might as well take the initiative to kill them." That's right. We don't even have a single immortal realm expert among us. If we encounter a large number of demon race experts, only death awaits us. Just as Holy Sun Huanchu said, we might as well take the initiative and kill even more demon race experts. Qi Yuanlin nodded, expressing his agreement with Suimo Yan's words. They all knew that if it weren't for Du Xiaofu's existence, the millions of demon race experts who had just appeared would have been enough to crush them. After all, the other side had more than a dozen immortal realm experts. If they killed their way into a group of true severing realm experts, it would be no different from a tiger entering a flock of sheep. And if a similar situation occurred in the future, without Du Xiaofu's protection, they would probably die a horrible death. Our Mirror Moon Holy Lands will also go with you, Qing Emperor, Lin Kaiyun said as she walked out with light steps. Since the demon race still hasn't given up on their evil intentions and wants to make a comeback, I think they'll definitely concoct an even bigger scheme. Since we've already seen through it, let's go with Brother Du and see what other tricks they have up their sleeves, Xiao Yun said as he nodded. The celestial demon battlefield was a battlefield that had existed since ancient times. There were originally a large number of demon race survivors here. Millions of years ago, a terrifying expert escaped from here and caused a calamity to befall transcendent Chang Rong heaven. And now, two reincarnated experts of the demon race had come from the outside world. They must have concocted an even more terrifying scheme. Xiao Yun really wanted to know how the devil race operated, and whether there were even more secrets hidden in the fiend god battle realm. I hope that the matter here will quickly attract the attention of the grand elders of transcendent Changrong heaven. If the demon race's scheme is too big, with our strength, I'm afraid it will be difficult to stop them. Another true severing consummate expert walked out and said to the crowd, If they wanted to fight against the powerful demon race with just these young disciples, they would not be able to do so. The crowd was not naive enough to think that the demon race army that was currently escaping was all the demon race had. The grand elders of the outside world probably did not expect that after so many years of purging, there were still so many powerful demons in the celestial demon battlefield. Otherwise, no one would have dared to let millions of young disciples enter this place for training. Since you all want to take a look, let's advance and retreat together. Du Xiaofu felt somewhat gratified. With so many people following them, they could deal with even more variables. At the same time, however, he felt a great deal of pressure. After all, Jiangchen had probably reached a very powerful level. At the very least, he was not inferior to him. In that case, the danger they would face would be even greater. Let's go. Du Xiaofu said no more. With a wave of his hand, he led the crowd in pursuit of the fleeing demon race experts. He did not personally take action. Instead, he handed the ancient barren space over to Yu Qingyin and entered it himself. He continuously swallowed large amounts of elixirs and fought for time to recover. After breaking through to the illusory path realm, Du Xiaofu had already fused a portion of the origin laws. Furthermore, this origin laws could give rise to Tao rhythms. In this aspect, no immortal realm expert could compare to him. It was also because of this that the ancient barren space refined by the Tianwu Academy's principle could be controlled more freely. It was more like a secret treasure that could be handed over to others to carry around. Illusory path realm? In the ancient barren space, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged. While he was refining the elixirs, he was also thinking about his current state. He had heard from Suimo Yin and the others that he was currently in this realm. Previously, Du Xiaofu had tried to break through to the immortal realm using the power of the 4 great primal laws. However, he had failed. After that, he suddenly had an idea. With the power of the 8 trigrams in the void as a foundation, he allowed the 4 great primal laws to fuse together. Indeed, he had broken through a layer of obstruction. After breaking through this layer of obstruction, he had stepped into a realm that no one had been able to reach since ancient times. The 4 great primal laws fused together to form the origin laws. At the same time, this origin laws can give rise to Tao rhythms. No wonder the immortal realm and meditative realm are said to be derived from this realm. Tao rhythms, that is a power that only meditative realm experts can possess. Du Xiaofu could not help but sigh. All these years, he had cultivated the 4 great primal laws at the same time and had broken through at the same time. He had also experienced countless dangers and had put in a lot of effort. However, this kind of effort was worth it. The illusory path realm was the best result. After breaking through to the true severing realm, one would be able to give rise to Tao rhythms. Although the Tao rhythms were much weaker than the origin laws of the meditative realm, it was already terrifying enough for an immortal realm expert. I wonder how the illusory path realm is divided and how to break through in the later stages. Du Xiaofu had never heard of this realm before. He only knew about it from Suimo Yin. There were very few people in the 33 heavens who knew about this. He was looking forward to it, but at the same time, he did not dare to let his guard down. That terrifying great Tao heavenly punishment was still fresh in his memory. Needless to say, as his cultivation became deeper, the later stages of the test would definitely become more and more terrifying. After the illusory path realm is the carrier realm and the formless realm. These 2 realms only exist in legends, and they are even more vast and unfathomable. Since ancient times, there have been many meditative realm experts who have touched the threshold of the carrier realm, but no one has truly been able to reach it. Will there be a day when I can try to break through to that height? Du Xiaofu thought in his heart. It was impossible for him to be willing to stop at the illusory path realm. Naturally, he wanted to reach an even deeper level. Moreover, Du Xiaofu believed he had that chance. After all, if he could break through the legendary illusory path realm, what was impossible about the carrier realm and the avatar realm? I'd better take it one step at a time. I can only rely on myself to figure out the illusory path realm. No one can provide me with pointers. Du Xiaofu immediately put away all his thoughts and thought like this. In this realm, it would be difficult for any expert to truly give him pointers. Even Chu Daoju, Lingfeng, Longsan, Yu Taiyan, and other terrifying undying ninth heaven existences couldn't. I wonder what level Jiangchen has reached by now. Du Xiaofu thought back to the events of the Fiend God battlefield and couldn't help but sigh. Back in the divine martial world, his friendship with Jiangchen could be considered deep. They'd gone through trials and tribulations together, and Jiangchen had even helped him. Jiangchen had also taken Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yin from his hands. Because of their relationship, Du Xiaofu hadn't asked too many questions. However, after that one time, Du Xiaofu and Jiangchen had never met again. At the final juncture of the devil religion's great calamity, Jiangchen, in the form of a golden hoe, had arrived. He devoured the heavens and killed the resurrected demon god. However, at that time, Du Xiaofu had already perished. He hadn't witnessed such a scene. Who would have thought that when he ran into Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yin in the 33 heavens, he'd unknowingly found himself on opposing sides? As for Jiangchen's true identity, it wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to guess. He had to be the strongest expert who'd wreaked havoc in the 33 heavens since ancient times, the demon ancestor. Are you still Jiangchen? Du Xiaofu wondered. He didn't dare imagine it. Jiangchen had the body of a zombie. So-called zombies were corpses that gained sentience. Because of this, he'd never been able to discover his true identity. If he wanted to increase his strength, he'd have to find his suppressed primordial spirit. That would explain why Jiangchen had killed the demon god, whom not even the rulers of the 3,000 boundless realms and the heavenly Dao's Du clan ancestor had been able to kill. However, he didn't know if the Jiangchen who'd fused with his primordial spirit was still the same Jiangchen Du Xiaofu knew. When he thought of these questions, Du Xiaofu's heart filled with boundless melancholy. He valued friendship greatly. He really didn't want to become enemies with Jiangchen. No matter what, he had to find him and ask him in person. Let's focus on recovering our strength first. Everything else will come to an end one day. Du Xiaofu suddenly let out a long sigh. Then, he stopped thinking about it. Closing his eyes slightly, he circulated the mystic energy in his body. Rays of light from the laws of nature drifted out and formed strange patterns that were vast, profound, and unfathomable. As time passed in the barren dimension, his aura grew rapidly. His terrifying power grew more and more vast. In the end, the entire ancient, desolate space began to tremble, emitting a huge rumbling sound. Violent winds, torrential rain, lightning, and fire intertwined, surrounding Du Xiaofu. The strongest power in the world isn't the great Tao, but rather the world it creates. Could this be the path to the realm of Tao-bearer? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu came to a realization. Earlier, when he'd deciphered the world created by the great Tao's heavenly punishment, he'd thought of this. Although the great Tao was supreme, its true strength lay in the fact that it could create the boundless realms and create all things. Thus, the ultimate manifestation of the great Tao's power was the world it created. Because of this, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but have a guess. Could it be that the realm of Tao-bearer was the creation of one's own world? This general direction shouldn't be wrong. After thinking for a long time, Du Xiaofu finally nodded and muttered to himself. Since no one could guide him, he would do it according to his own ideas. There shouldn't be any deviation in this general direction. In that case, the origin of laws isn't the strongest method. The real strength is to divide the origin of laws and evolve it into a terrifying world. Only in this way can one reach a stronger place. Du Xiaofu continued to comprehend. His hands moved in the void, and a huge 8 trigrams diagram appeared. Then, it split apart again, forming a terrifying wheel. Inside it, fine origin of laws flowed. These origin of laws were woven into shape by Du Xiaofu, and then transformed into a 10,000-foot-long sword. As it flashed, it carried an incomparably fierce power. This sword light was the same terrifying method that had killed many demon race masters in the heavenly punishment world. It had also broken open the heavenly punishment world. Since it's derived from the origin of laws, then this sword will be called the origin of sky-killing sword. Du Xiaofu muttered as he stared at the sharp sword light in the sky with a burning gaze, and said, Chapter 28:55 This technique was something he had comprehended recently. It was derived from the power of the origin of laws. It condensed all the laws in the world into one sword. Du Xiaofu had experienced its absolute power before. It was absolutely terrifying, far surpassing all the techniques he had mastered in the past. He was confident that with this unique technique, he could resist an expert at 5th sky of Immortal Realm or even 6th sky of Immortal Realm. The strength of the virtual path realm could be seen from this. As for the origin of the two words, Void Dao, it was probably because it could naturally produce Dao rhymes. Now I just lack a suitable weapon, Du Xiaofu murmured. Then he took out the heavenly purple gold fault and placed it on his knees. This broadsword had followed him for many years, but it could no longer match his cultivation base. Its level was a little low. Whether it was the Dragon Yang sword of the Yu Qing Divine Kingdom's country guarding Imperial Seal or the upper-grade Law True Weapon Nirvana Dragon Sword, they were all much stronger than the heavenly purple gold fault. However, Du Xiaofu had yet to refine those two swords to use for himself. Heavenly purple gold fault? You have followed me for many years. I really can't bear to give it up. Du Xiaofu stroked the broadsword's body gently as if he was caressing his child. He didn't want to give up the heavenly purple gold fault, but he still lacked a lot of opportunities and materials to upgrade it again. However, he wanted to try and let the heavenly purple gold fault devour the upper-grade Law True Weapon Nirvana Dragon Sword to upgrade it. However, this process was very risky. After all, it was an upper-grade Law True Weapon. If he wasn't careful, it wouldn't be the Nirvana Dragon Sword that was devoured, but the heavenly purple gold fault. In the end, I still have to take this step. With my current realm, it should be very difficult to suppress an upper-grade Law True Weapon. Du Xiaofu thought. He planned to use the heavenly purple gold fault to devour the Nirvana Dragon Sword. Time flew by in the ancient, desolate space. Unknowingly, 100 years had passed, but in the outside world, only a few years had passed. Most likely, the disciples of the various forces were still pursuing the remaining demons and were still quite a distance away from the deepest part of the Fiend God battlefield. After so many years of recovery, Du Xiaofu had already reached his peak state. After breaking through, he felt as if his entire body was filled with a boundless, mysterious power, manifesting the ultimate source power of the world's laws. He took a peek at the outside world and found that things were no different from what he had expected. There weren't many changes. After that, Du Xiaofu went into seclusion again. Purple Gold Heavenly Palace, go! Du Xiaofu let out a soft shout, and the broadsword on his knees flew up into the sky in response. Buzz! A loud rumbling sound spread out, and the entire desolate ancient space was filled with buzzing sounds. Oh, roar, goo, screech. Immediately, a ray of light rushed out from the Purple Gold Heavenly Palace, turning into the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. They coiled in the air, filled with a fierce aura. This broadsword was originally very extraordinary. In the past, after being refined by Du Xiaofu time and time again, it could be considered as a divine artifact now, and its power was not weak. Nirvana Dragon, go! Du Xiaofu waved his hand again, and a long sword engraved with dragon patterns flew up, standing side by side with the purple gold heavenly palace in the void. On the sword, the golden dragon coiled around like a living creature. Faintly, one could hear the roar of the dragon, which made one's scalp tingle. Now that Du Xiaofu's realm had increased greatly, he felt that this long sword was even more terrifying. The upper-grade Law True Weapon was indeed extraordinary. If it wasn't for the fact that the Tsangming Divine Kingdom's great prince only had the cultivation base of true severing perfection, it would have been extremely difficult for Du Xiaofu to snatch this sword even if it was controlled by an immortal powerhouse. The so-called Law True Weapon was condensed with the power of law. Only an immortal realm expert could refine it. A high-grade Law True Weapon was even more terrifying. Only a high-level immortal realm expert, such as the 7th, 8th, or even 9th heavens, had the strength to refine it. Du Xiaofu asked himself. Although his strength had increased greatly, it would still be very difficult for him to face such a terrifying existence. Start. Without thinking too much, Du Xiaofu shouted and controlled the purple-gold heavenly palace to move. In the sky, the four divine beast phantoms moved together, slowly approaching the Nirvana dragon sword step by step. Oh, as if it felt something, the Nirvana dragon sword began to tremble violently. Terrifying dragon roars shook the sky, shaking the ancient, desolate space. True weapons had spirits, so they could sense potential danger and took the initiative to defend themselves. A fierce light of law burst out from the Nirvana dragon sword and spread out like a tide, forming a shuttle-shaped barrier that covered the entire sword. The aura of the purple-gold heavenly palace was blocked outside. This weapon's soul is quite smart. It didn't take the initiative to attack. Does it know that I will attack? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly and murmured. Generally speaking, weapons of extraordinary quality had their own weapon souls. The purple-gold heavenly palace also had one. In the past, it had devoured many weapons, including the soul of an immemorial saint weapon. It was because of this characteristic that Du Xiaofu decided to use the purple-gold heavenly palace to refine the Nirvana dragon sword. But obviously, the Nirvana dragon sword's intelligence was very high. If it was out of its master's control, it had a chance to give birth to its own life and turn into a demon spirit. Purple gold heavenly palace, break for me! Du Xiaofu suddenly roared, and the power in his body surged out and poured into the purple gold heavenly palace. In an instant, the broadsword released a bright light, and the power of law crazily rose. The phantoms of the four divine beasts let out a series of roars. Buzz, buzz. The power of law origin swirled and finally converged into the purple-gold heavenly palace, giving it an indescribable charm. A terrifying sword aura took shape and suddenly slashed down at the Nirvana dragon sword. This sword aura was extremely sharp, and there was a Tao rhythm circulating on it. A mighty force surged. When it hit the barrier outside the Nirvana dragon sword, the sharp aura was vast and mighty, instantly cutting it open. However, this was not the power of the purple-gold heavenly palace, but Du Xiaofu's law origin. Don't hide. Come out and fight. These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. He controlled the purple-gold heavenly palace and pressed down on the Nirvana dragon sword step by step. If he wanted the purple-gold heavenly palace to devour the Nirvana dragon sword, he had to force the sword's soul out and then devour it. Only then would he be able to devour it. You dare to challenge me with just a divine weapon? A dignified voice came from the Nirvana dragon sword, revealing an extremely domineering aura. However, the sword's soul did not appear. Instead, the dragon patterns on the sword's body became brighter and brighter. The dragon's roar shook heaven and earth, and a powerful aura surged. A terrifying sword ray swallowed and spat out, directly meeting the purple-gold heavenly palace. You still want to hide? Do you think you can hide? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows, and the power in his body circulated again, entering the purple-gold heavenly palace. The broadsword let out a cheerful cry as it brazenly struck down. Chi! The two sword rays suddenly collided, and a terrifying power erupted, as if the heavens were going to punish the earth. When the sword rays exploded, countless sword shadows appeared in the void. They flew in all directions, surging in all directions and piercing through the void. This scene was extremely terrifying. The world seemed to be boiling, and a storm of astral swords swept up in the ancient, desolate space. Suppress. Du Xiaofu's body stepped into the air, and his palm slammed down without any fluctuations, directly imprinting on the Nirvana dragon sword's body, emitting a ding sound. This high-grade law true treasure was sent flying, and the sword's body trembled as if it was about to shatter. I am the king of this ancient, desolate space. Even if you want to hide, where can you hide? Be straightforward. Come out and accept my challenge, Du Xiaofu said in a deep voice and quickly chased over. The power in his body was vast and mighty, binding the Nirvana dragon sword within it. At the same time, the purple-gold heavenly palace arrived once again, brazenly slashing down. Roar! The Nirvana dragon sword's dragon roars resounded, breaking the void. The dragon engraved on the sword's body emitted a dazzling light, and a domineering aura spread out from it. finally willing to come out? Seeing this scene, the corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth couldn't help but curl up into a smile. Under his coercion, the artifact soul was finally willing to leave the sword's body and face the purple-gold heavenly palace head-on. He knew that this was because he had grasped the power of the ancient desolate space, and the power of the source of laws was also fierce. Even if the other party wanted to hide, it couldn't hide forever. Roar. Under Du Xiaofu's gaze, the golden light slowly dissipated, revealing the body of a golden dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long. It coiled in the void, looking up at Du Xiaofu and the purple-gold heavenly palace. Human, forcing me out is courting death. The golden dragon spoke in human language, and its pair of fierce eyes moved, carrying an incomparably dignified aura. As the artifact soul of a high-grade law true treasure, its strength was absolutely formidable after transforming into a golden dragon. We still don't know who will die. Come and fight. Du Xiaofu's face became solemn. Forcing out the artifact soul was only the first step. What came next was the true key. Whether the Nirvana dragon sword would be swallowed or the purple-gold heavenly palace would be turned into scrap, it was likely that it would only take a single thought. Even now, Du Xiaofu still wasn't certain just how strong the artifact soul of a high-grade law true treasure was, and whether or not he could suppress it was still unknown. Human, prepare to die. The golden dragon roared, and a tyrannical strength surged out, causing a great tremor. Large amounts of law patterns began to weave in the void, and a terrifying source strength seeped out. It was even stronger than what Du Xiaofu had displayed. The golden dragon moved, its body twisting and coiling, wrapping around the purple-gold heavenly palace and the purple-robed youth, as if it wanted to erase both of them at the same time. As expected of a high-grade law true treasure, the power of this artifact soul is also formidable. Du Xiaofu was secretly speechless. Just in terms of the density of his law origins, he really couldn't compare to this high-grade law true treasure's artifact soul. However, he was also fearless. Since he was going to fight, how could he retreat? As he spoke, Du Xiaofu moved. He took a step forward in the void, and at the same time, he mobilized the power of the ancient, desolate space, stirring up an invisible force that suppressed the artifact soul. I was afraid you wouldn't come out. Since you've come out, then even if you're a dragon, you'll still have to obediently coil up for me. Du Xiaofu's palms swept through the air, bringing with it a tyrannical power that swept down, causing the entire ancient, desolate space to tremble. This power crazily squeezed, all of it pressing down on the artifact soul. Under the assault of the ancient, desolate space's power, the Nirvana dragon artifact soul was like a withered tree in a gale, its body swaying unsteadily. The terrifying power struck its body, causing the golden dragon's body to rapidly dim. A large number of dragon scales exploded, turning into pure law patterns that fluttered in the void. Roar. Waves of dragon roars pierced through the air, as if wanting to tear the heavens and earth apart. Human, you want to suppress me? Don't even think about it. This space is under your control, and there's something special about it that makes it difficult for me to resist. But if you're bent on using this artifact to devour me, then let's have a life-and-death struggle. The golden dragon roared again and again, saying such words. The power of the origin of laws in its body boiled incessantly, trying its best to cut open a trace of Du Xiaofu's seal. Then, it suddenly rushed into the heavenly amethyst palace. The show is about to begin. Looking at this scene, Du Xiaofu's heart sank slightly. He had to draw out the Nirvana dragon artifact soul, then let it enter the heavenly amethyst palace, and then carry out the final suppression, allowing the artifact soul to devour it. Only then could he achieve his goal. If he had been able to completely suppress it in the ancient desolate space, it would have been extremely easy for him to devour it later. However, Du Xiaofu did not dare to force it too much. If it caused the golden dragon to self-destruct, then all his previous efforts would be for naught. This step could be considered as within his expectations. Roar, as Du Xiaofu muttered. He also let out an earth-shaking roar from his throat. The huge scarlet horse monkey primordial spirit crossed the sky and took a step forward, entering the heavenly amethyst palace's space. After the golden dragon artifact soul entered, its entire body erupted with an incomparably terrifying sharpness. Tens of thousands of light swords shook the sky and poured down like a rain of swords, wreaking havoc in the heavenly amethyst palace's space. If you want to devour me, then I'll destroy this artifact of yours first. The golden dragon roared and crazily circulated its power, constantly sprinkling sword light. It knew that the Nirvana dragon sword had fallen into the purple-robed youth's hands, and it had long been unable to escape. If it was simply being refined, the golden dragon artifact soul would not be so crazy. However, the human actually wanted to let a divine artifact devour it. This was absolutely intolerable. Therefore, after it entered the space of the sword body, the first thing it wanted to do was to destroy the artifact soul of this divine artifact. Not far away, an artifact soul of the same shape as the broadsword outside was entrenched. The golden dragon's rain of swords was aimed at that spot. Kill! The golden dragon body that was formed by the artifact soul roared. Its eyes were like swords, overbearing and majestic, and there were strange patterns of law spreading out from its eyes. Suddenly, the space trembled strangely with a mysterious force, completely distorting the space. This energy was too terrifying. The golden dragon phantom strangely appeared in front of the heavenly amethyst palace's artifact soul at the same time. It opened its ferocious mouth and spewed out sword light, distorting the space and destroying everything. At this moment, the heavenly amethyst palace's artifact soul was imprisoned for no reason. The space was sealed, and there was a mysterious force binding it. Roar! At the same time, a beam of dazzling golden light appeared. The strange energy of the confined space could not stop it, and it turned into a huge golden ape. Its body was wrapped in golden patterns of laws, and it was full of vitality. It gave people the feeling of the beginning of the world and the beginning of all things, as if it could penetrate the essence of all laws. Subdue! The golden ape shouted. Its eyes sparkled as if it was born with spiritual eyes that could overlook everything. Its terrifying aura burst out. It swung its arm and punched, which seemed to be able to sweep away everything and suppress everything. It directly attacked the golden dragon artifact soul. It was Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. The red sparrow horse monkey's body had entered the space of the heavenly amethyst palace. Boom! Boom! The punch of the red sparrow horse monkey's primordial spirit had a strange energy that could ignore the former strange energy that had affected the space. It directly pushed the strange sword light away. The soul of this upper-grade true weapon of law was intimidating. It could generate the intimidating power of the origin of law. Its power could be compared to an ordinary seventh sky of immortal realm expert. Moreover, with its strange energy, it was hard to deal with. However, Du Xiaofu's red sparrow horse monkey's primordial spirit wasn't weaker than his body. Even the soul of the upper-grade true weapon of law couldn't resist it. More importantly, when Du Xiaofu generated the origin of law, he also had the Tao attainments. With this, he could narrow the gap between the two of them. It's just a... Du Xiaofu furrowed his brows and said. He urged the power of the origin of law and used the Tao attainments to subdue the power of the gold dragon soul. It was a protracted battle. Du Xiaofu's power was stronger than the gold dragon soul. However, in terms of vastness, he wasn't as strong as the dragon artifact soul. After a long time, the two of them had maintained a delicate balance. For the time being, they couldn't do anything to the other. Human, you want to refine me? Don't even think about it. The gold dragon soul roared angrily. It was extremely angry. He was tightly bound in this space and couldn't escape to the outside world. Even if he wanted to kill the artifact's artifact soul, he couldn't do it. You will either be obliterated and suppressed, or be refined and devoured obediently. There is no third option, but I know you'll choose the former. Let's continue like this. Let's see who can outlast the other. Du Xiaofu sneered. At this point, he wasn't worried at all. Under the suppression of the four great original laws and the ferocious Tao attainments, The gold dragon's defeat was just a matter of time. Indeed, after a long time, the power of the gold dragon's soul finally reached a critical point and began to weaken. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Du Xiaofu moved with all his might, exerting almost all of his strength to suppress his opponent. Chapter 2856. Wu. As the power of the golden dragon artifact soul was gradually weakened, the purple gold law patterns on the heavenly palace of purple gold burst out with a dazzling light, forming a purple gold spatial vortex. A fiendish aura swept out like a hurricane, accompanied by the cries of ghosts and howls of gods. The light was dazzling, containing the might of dragons and tigers and the aura of phoenixes. This terrifying fiendish aura was enough to directly shatter all souls. The heavenly palace of purple gold erupted with the might of a peerless weapon. The terrifying fiendish aura crazily rippled, swallowing the energy of heaven and earth in the outside world. It also directly swallowed the golden dragon's body, crazily absorbing its energy. At this moment, the heavenly palace of purple gold could also see the situation between Du Xiaofu and the golden dragon artifact soul. With the addition of Du Xiaofu, the situation immediately became one-sided. Roar! The golden dragon artifact soul roared, turning pale with fright. Sword light burst out, twisting the void. It was actually about to break free from the heavenly palace of purple gold. Oh! The red-bone horse monkeys Yuan spirit roared and leaped into the air, instantly transforming into a golden five-fingered mountain peak. Large amounts of law origins were born and evolved, and dense spiritual chi spread out, connecting with the energy of the heavens and earth. Pressure rolled out like a long rainbow, like a supreme being that could crush and suppress all things in the world. Suppress. The five golden mountain peaks pressed down on the golden dragon's body. Golden law runes spread out all over the sky, constantly evolving like a sea of golden light. Roar! The golden dragon roared, wanting to break free. The surrounding space was distorted, but it couldn't affect the five-fingered golden mountain. It was firmly suppressed, and fear finally appeared in the eyes of the sword light. Walala! The heavenly palace of purple gold's artifact soul roared, surging with a crazy devouring power. Accompanied by the cries of ghosts and gods, and the roars of dragons and tigers, it swallowed and refined the energy of the golden dragon's body, taking it for its own. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to move. He only stared at the heavenly palace of purple gold and the Nirvana dragon sword's artifact soul. At the same time, the power in his body surged, all used to suppress the golden dragon artifact soul. Looks like this process will be very long. Du Xiaofu murmured in his heart. It would take a long time for the heavenly purple gold tower to completely devour the power of the Nirvana dragon sword. And before the broadsword's power surpassed the golden dragon artifact soul, he had to keep suppressing it. Otherwise, it might cause a backlash and turn the heavenly palace of purple gold into a piece of scrap metal. If that was the case, the losses would outweigh the gains. I wonder what the situation outside is like. While suppressing the golden dragon artifact soul, Du Xiaofu was still thinking about the fiend god battlefield. After breaking through to the void Dao realm, if the young disciples of the transcendent Chong Rong heaven were not led by him and encountered a large number of devils, the outcome would not be optimistic. However, right now, the violet gold heavenly palace was also at a critical moment, so he could not interfere with the outside world. These questions were quickly suppressed by him. Du Xiaofu began to focus on assisting the heavenly purple gold tower in devouring the Nirvana dragon sword's artifact soul. He had to finish this matter as soon as possible so that he could go out and deal with the demon race. At the same time, Du Xiaofu was somewhat expectant. He wanted to see what grade the heavenly purple gold tower would reach after the final success. In the desolate ancient space, time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, several years had passed. Finally, the terrifying fiendish aura in the heavenly purple gold tower's space suppressed the golden dragon's domineering aura by a bit, breaking the balance between the two. Du Xiaofu waited patiently until the heavenly purple gold tower's artifact soul gained an overwhelming advantage. Only then did he let out a long sigh of relief and withdraw his power, allowing the heavenly purple gold tower to freely devour it. He had also consumed a lot of energy, but he still revealed a knowing smile. Soon after, Du Xiaofu's scarlet horse monkey soul withdrew from the sword space and returned to his own body. In the desolate ancient space, the Nirvana dragon sword's body and the heavenly purple gold tower's body were facing each other. Both of their auras were restrained, and there were no fluctuations. However, Du Xiaofu knew that as the heavenly purple gold tower continued to devour, the Nirvana dragon sword's body would also be devoured and digested, turning this artifact that represented the crown prince of the Tsaming divine kingdom into a piece of scrap metal. It's time to go out and take a look. Du Xiaofu didn't pay too much attention to the two swords. He sat cross-legged and recovered for a long time. When he reached his peak state, he directly left the desolate ancient space and came to the outside world. At this time, many young disciples from the transcendent Chang Rong heaven had already entered the depths of the celestial demon battlefield. Many years had passed, and they couldn't tell how much distance they had traveled. "Brother Du, you fully recovered?" Seeing Du Xiaofu appear, Xiao Yun, Yu Qingyin, Tang Yuanshan, Zhang Haoren, and the others asked with joy. "How have you been recently?" Du Xiaofu nodded and then asked Sui Mo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, and the others. "We've been chasing the remaining demons for the past few years and have almost wiped them out. There are only a few dozen complete true severing stage experts left, and they're still running." Xiao Yun thought for a moment and then said to Du Xiaofu, "Actually, it's not that we can't kill those demons. We just want them to lead the way and find Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yin." Sui Mo Yin took over the conversation and said with a smile, "That's good." Du Xiaofu nodded, very satisfied with their actions. His ultimate goal was still to find Jiangchen. Presumably, only Dongli Qihuang and Shen Yin knew of Jiangchen's whereabouts. And if he chased after the demons, he should have a chance to find the final nest of the demons. However, we've also lost a lot of people. We originally had 1,000,000 people, but now we don't even have 800,000 left. Lin Sayun's beautiful face was somewhat gloomy. The loss of more than 200,000 people was already very large, and it was enough to cause a certain amount of damage to the various large forces. Fortunately, the demons had lost even more people. In their defeat, almost all of them had been killed. The demons are rampant without restraint. If they are allowed to wreak havoc, not to mention us, I'm afraid that the entire 33 heavens will not be peaceful. Since it's a battle, there will definitely be deaths and injuries. This is unavoidable, Qi Yuanlin said with a slight frown. When the others heard this, they were silent and only nodded. Then, no one said anything. They lowered their heads and walked forward, following behind the fleeing demons as if they were going to do their best to kill them. Not long after, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly. This was because the surrounding area and the path they were taking gave him a sense of familiarity. After thinking about it, he finally confirmed one thing. If I'm not wrong, the direction we are heading towards should lead to a place called the Gate of Hell. Du Xiaofu said to the people around him, "Gate of Hell? Where is that?" Many people were puzzled. At the same time, Sui Mo Yin, Lin Kaiyun, and the others' eyes all narrowed. Previously, we received this information from a few demons who were alone. Now, it seems that the Gate of Hell really exists. Sui Mo Yin frowned and said softly, "That's right." The reason why Du Xiaofu felt that this was somewhat familiar was because he had once searched the primordial spirit of a demon clan elite and understood many things. From the memories of that demon clan elite, he knew that there were some very terrifying places in the celestial demon battlefield. The Blood Sea was one of them, and so was the Gate of Hell. According to what he knew, no demons had gone there to investigate. No one knew what kind of place it was and what kind of terrifying things existed there. The Gate of Hell should be an even more terrifying place. We must be careful, Du Xiaofu warned in a serious tone. He faintly felt that it was definitely a place even more terrifying than the ancient ruins. It won't be long before we reach it. When we get close, we must immediately get rid of the demons in front. Xiao Yun's white robe fluttered slightly as a fierce killing intent condensed in his eyes. "Let's go." The group did not speak anymore and did their best to chase after the true severing realm elites of the demon clan. The deeper they went into the celestial demon battlefield, the more Du Xiaofu and the others felt that the evil qi was flourishing. The terrifying smell of blood filled every inch of the space. Gusts of cold wind whistled and blew on their bodies. It was as if evil spirits were circling around their bodies, causing their scalps to go numb and goosebumps to appear all over their bodies. In this ancient battlefield, there were countless dead souls. After the accumulation of countless years, the entire space was as terrifying as the death realm. Everyone went forward against this terrifying aura. Fortunately, those who came here were all elites. They were at least in the early stage of the true, severing realm and did not have to worry about the evil qi invading their bodies. I'm afraid we are about to reach it. The vast and boundless area flashed by until one day, Du Xiaofu suddenly narrowed his eyes and said to the people around him. His cultivation was higher than everyone else's, and he had sensed some things earlier than them. Under the prying of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, a terrifying bloody aura surged endlessly tens of millions of miles away, like a roaring river. This kind of situation was many times more intense than other places. Even though they were far away, Du Xiaofu felt a chill run down his spine. If you are sure, we can get rid of these demons who are leading the way now, Suemo said as he looked at Du Xiaofu. Get rid of them. Leaving them alive will only cause trouble. Du Xiaofu nodded and then stretched out a hand and suddenly slapped the void. Voila! The four primitive rules intertwined and twisted, producing a portion of origin energy. It turned into a huge palm print that was like the dome of the sky and directly slapped out. This palm print flew through the air and in the blink of an eye, it crossed tens of thousands of miles and sealed the void. In an instant, it hit more than 10 true severing realm elites of the demon race. Bang, bang, bang. A series of explosions resounded. Those who were swept by the palm print were instantly turned into dust and died a violent death. Is this the strength of the empty path realm? Suemo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, Yu Qingyin and the others were all shocked when they saw this scene. Their eyes were filled with horror. They knew that the empty path realm was very strong, but they did not expect it to be so strong. Du Xiaofu had only used a simple move to kill more than 10 demons from tens of thousands of miles away. This was really hard to believe. Such a terrifying ability, even a fifth sky of the immortal realm would not be able to do it. Now that Brother Du has become so strong, I am afraid that I will never be able to catch up to him in this lifetime. The corners of Xiao Yun's mouth couldn't help but curl into a bitter smile. When he first met Du Xiaofu, he still wanted to fight Du Xiaofu one day and find out the gap between them. But who would have thought that this guy was really too abnormal? His growth speed was completely beyond imagination. His realm didn't look like it came from cultivation at all. It was like he was flying. Xiao Yun sighed in his heart. It seemed that he could not fight with Du Xiaofu unless he was itching to be beaten up one day. In fact, it was not only Xiao Yun. Yu Qingyin, Yu Qingyao, Teng Yuanshan, Zhang Haoran, Meng Dongyang, and many other disciples of the Yu Qing divine kingdom all sighed in their hearts. Many of them were at the same realm as Du Xiaofu, or even much higher. But in just a short time, he had left them far behind. Let's make a move together and end this quickly. In comparison, Suemo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, and the others did not have such deep feelings. They were only shocked by Du Xiaofu's strength. Under the lead of the holy sons and holy daughters, the remaining experts all rushed out and began to kill the remaining true severing complete stage experts of the demon race. This was a one-sided massacre. With Du Xiaofu's deterrence, although the demon race fled for their lives, they were quickly wiped out and not a single one was left. After this final pursuit, many people also began to feel the terrifying aura in front of them. The bloody and murderous aura spread over, causing everyone's hearts to tremble for no reason. However, no one retreated. All of them rushed towards the final destination. Is that the gates of hell? The distance of thousands of miles quickly passed by. The many young disciples of the transcendent Changrong sky arrived at a strange place. A scene that shocked every young expert appeared in front of them. In the void, a huge blood-red ball of light appeared. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of miles in size it was. Waves of desolate and ancient aura rippled out from it, causing everyone to feel as if they were in the primordial wilderness. Under the cover of this aura, everyone seemed to have some illusions in front of their eyes. It was as if they had returned to the primitive era of life. Images of majestic gods and demons appeared in front of their eyes. Every majestic body was indomitable and looked down on the common people. The gods and demons swept their eyes lightly, and the void was destroyed, turning into chaos. With the light rays of their hands, time and space rotated, and the world collapsed. As their chests rose and fell, it was accompanied by the sound of thunder that filled the sky like drums, and the world shook. This scene was too terrifying. It was simply not something that ordinary people could imagine. It caused these young experts to be intoxicated. After the fiend god's figure disappeared, another large wave of images surged towards them like a tidal wave. Within it, thousands of soldiers and horses galloped, trampling the stars and destroying the mortal world. On the bodies of these thousands of soldiers and horses, there was an earth-shattering bloody aura of slaughter. It caused the entire sky to be dyed scarlet, as if it had been soaked in blood. This aura of slaughter was too vast, and it caused the sky to shake and the earth to tremble. All the young experts felt as if they'd arrived at the scene themselves, and they felt as if they would be crushed at any moment and transformed into a bloody mist, causing the aura of blood to become even denser. Because they were already mentally prepared, all of them circulating the energy in their bodies, so no one really lost their minds because of this aura. The group of young experts all stared at the huge blood-red ball of light with burning eyes, their eyes filled with shock. There shouldn't be any mistake. This should be the gates of hell. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he looked at the huge blood-red ball of light. The movement of the ball of light caused everyone to tremble, but at the same time, it also aroused Du Xiaofu's strong curiosity. The things in the celestial demon battlefield were all left behind from ancient times. Perhaps there was some big secret hidden in this ball of light. This place is very scary. It is definitely accompanied by great danger. Sumo's eyes were serious as he spoke softly. Even with his cultivation, he deeply felt that just by standing outside, his spiritual soul could not help but tremble. It was even more so for those who were relatively weaker. If he rashly led everyone in, he was afraid that he would lose a large number of people. A portion of us will go in, and the rest will stay outside to guard. According to my estimates, there will definitely be a large number of demons nearby. We must be careful and defend. Du Xiaofu turned his head and looked at the leaders of the various forces as he spoke. It was not realistic for everyone to enter together. If they forced it, it would only cause unnecessary casualties. Then we will do as Brother Du says. The holy sons and holy maidens of the various holy lands will enter. Everyone else will stay outside. Xiaoyan thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. For the sake of safety, those who stay behind will form a formation in advance. Prepare your defenses well. We must take precautions. Du Xiaofu looked again at Teng Yuanshan, Zhang Haoren, Meng Dongyang, Yu Qingyan, Yu Chengyao, and the rest as he solemnly instructed. No one knew how many demon tribe experts were outside. If a large number of immortal realm experts appeared, the hundreds of thousands of young disciples would not be enough to survive. It is decided. Everyone will be deployed together. No one is to disobey orders. Su Moyan and the others discussed for a while and chose a few leaders. Then, without further delay, they rushed directly into the huge blood-red light ball with Du Xiaofu. About half of the 35 holy lands of Changrong Sky were present. Including Du Xiaofu, there were about 20 people. This kind of force was not weak. However, if they had to face so many demon tribe experts, they would definitely be stretched thin. However, everyone wanted to enter the ball of light and explore. They wanted to see what kind of things existed in the gates of hell and how terrifying it was. The demon tribe had slaughtered the 33 heavens in the ancient times and slaughtered countless lives. This time, they wanted to make a comeback and no one dared to let their guard down. However, no matter what kind of scheme they had, as disciples of the 33 heavens, they could not retreat. Only by entering and exploring and understanding more secrets would they be able to deal with it calmly. Chapter 28:57. When Du Xiaofu and the rest entered the blood-red light, they entered another space. It was a dark and cold place, vast and boundless. There was no blue sky above their heads and no thick earth below their feet. Everyone was suspended in the empty space. As far as the eye could see, there were stars revolving and floating, and there were also small streams of spatial turbulence whizzing about. This is the crevice of the worlds? Suemo Yin frowned as he looked around and said, "It is similar to the crevice of the worlds, but there are some differences." Xiao Yun was also puzzled. After they entered, they did not sense any terrifying aura. This puzzled everyone. It is similar to the crevice of the worlds, but it is definitely not as simple as the crevice of the worlds. Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes and continuously used his primordial spirit to check the surroundings. Under his observation, there were countless stars around them, some even emitting light and heat. However, these stars were all dead silent and covered with rocks. They were not like the stars in the 33 heavens, where some were small worlds that were full of life. Simply put, Du Xiaofu looked around, and what he sensed with his primordial spirit was a void of life. Although there is no life in this space, I feel that this place is not ordinary. Perhaps there is a great secret hidden here. Qi Yuanlin said softly. Not only him, everyone who stood in the empty space could feel the existence of a special fluctuation. This fluctuation was very strange, and they could not see through it. They could vaguely feel that the countless stars were moving in a strange path, forming a mysterious order, as if they were sealing something. The blood-red light that we entered has disappeared. I don't know how to return to the divinity and demon battlefield. Lien Saiyun's red lips opened slightly and said solemnly. Behind them, the gates of hell had long disappeared. They did not know where they were and where the way back was. Don't think about leaving first. Let's check it out first. Du Xiaofu was silent for a moment before he said, "Since that blood-red ball of light is called Hell's Gate, is it possible that we are in hell right now?" Hell? Many experts were stunned. They had never thought of this possibility before. But everyone knew that the legend of the 18 levels of hell had been passed down through the 33 heavens. According to rumors, that place was a land of death without any life force. It was full of blood and slaughter, and evil energy pervaded the air. However, the surroundings did not look like what the legends said. Besides the dead silence of the stars, there was nothing special about it. There was no shadow of hell. That's not impossible. Perhaps we really are in the 18th level of hell. Xiao Yun thought for a moment and said solemnly. Regarding the 18 layers of hell, everyone's knowledge was very limited. No one could clearly describe what kind of existence it was. After all, everything came from legends. The dead stars in the sky look very ancient and desolate. The trajectory of each star seems to be weaving some kind of invisible force, making it difficult for people to see through. Du Xiaofu did not think too much about it and used all his strength to look around. Moreover, he began to move in the starry sky. When everyone saw this, they also followed. The speed of the group was extremely fast. Countless large stars filled with gravel swept past their bodies. I wonder if the two from the demon clan are here. How are we going to find them? Suemo Yin said as he followed Du Xiaofu. They had come here to find out the roots of the demon clan. However, if they lost the tracks of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin, they would not be able to talk about anything. This star was very vast. If they simply passed through it, it would take a long time. They must be here. Let's search carefully. Du Xiaofu said softly. After that, he did not say anything else and only focused on observing the starry sky. As they traveled for a long time, Du Xiaofu found out more and more things. At the same time, Du Xiaofu was more and more shocked in his heart. He discovered that as all the stars in the starry sky revolved, the boundless power was all slowly gathering in one direction. If not for careful observation, this situation would be very difficult to sense. In such a vast starry sky, countless dead stars, all the power gathered together. What kind of terrifying power is that? Du Xiaofu was shocked and secretly speechless. Now that he had broken through to the virtual path realm, the range of his primordial spirit's detection was no longer the same as before. However, even so, he was still far from being able to touch the edge of the starry sky. He did not know how big it was. He could imagine that this was definitely a place that was more boundless than any of the 33 heavens. The power released by the entire starry sky when the stars revolved was so great that Du Xiaofu could not imagine it. At the very least, he knew that even a seated oblivion expert who had touched the Grand Tao was unable to completely destroy a Grand Tao. The final result of the Grand Tao was a world. Destroying a Grand Tao was equivalent to shaking the Grand Tao. It was absolutely impossible, unless there really was an existence at the Path Realm. At that height, perhaps it was possible to accomplish this. Everyone flew through the void at high speed, searching carefully but to no avail. Over 10 experts were like headless flies, and every single one of them had a trace of confusion in their hearts. There's someone here. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu had a thought, and his eyes narrowed as he looked towards a certain direction. There, he sensed the fluctuations of some living beings, and they were rapidly moving towards their direction. Not long after, Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, and the others noticed this as well. Dongli Qihuang, Chun Yin. When everyone sensed it, Du Xiaofu had already clearly understood the identity of the newcomers. He had never imagined that it would actually be Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. Is it them? Let's go and take a look. Suimo Yan's eyes narrowed as he took the lead and rushed towards the opposite side. The two of them only cared about escaping previously, and now they actually dare to appear directly in front of us. I'm afraid that they have something to rely on. We must be careful. Qi Yuanlin said solemnly, but his speed did not slow down at all. The people of the demon clan, no matter what methods they have, let's take them on. Xiao Yun snorted coldly and said. He naturally knew that the demon clan was powerful, but things had already come to this point. Everyone had already come to this starry sky, and there was no other way out. Other than facing the demon clan head-on, there was no other choice. Du Xiaofu was silent as he led the group forward, flying in the direction of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. The two groups of people moved towards each other, and after a long time, they finally gathered in one place. TSK, 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 TSK. Du Xiaofu, I didn't expect you to be so bold, actually daring to enter the gates of hell. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to return? Dongli Qihuang's handsome face was ferocious as he looked at Du Xiaofu and said in a fierce voice. His blood-red robe fluttered in the void, releasing a terrifying bloody aura that frightened people just by looking at it. The ones who should be hiding are you two. Just the two of you, and you dare to appear in front of me alone? It seems like the ones who are seeking death are you too. Du Xiaofu met Dongli Qihuang's gaze and said coldly. However, at the same time, he couldn't suppress his astonishment. That was because he could feel that the auras of the two opposite of him had reached their peak. Moreover, compared to the time when he had fought with them, they had obviously improved. They had reached the second sky of a mortal realm. Du Xiaofu couldn't calm down. How long had it been since he last saw them? He couldn't imagine what it meant for the two of them to improve like that. Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin were members of the demon clan. What kind of status and position did they have? How could they improve so fast? Harumph. Du Xiaofu's words made Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan's faces cold. He snorted and then said, Du Xiaofu, don't be complacent. You've just reached the virtual path realm. Do you really think that you're invincible? Wait until the two of us recover to our peak condition. Killing you will be as easy as slaughtering a dog. As Dongli Qihuang spoke, her entire face was scrunched up into a ball, brimming with endless hatred. They had suffered a lot in Du Xiaofu's hands, and they couldn't let go of it. Really? Du Xiaofu's voice deepened as he said coldly, if so, I'm going to subdue you now. Let's see how you two can recover to your peak condition. As soon as he finished speaking, his entire body instantly flew out, and his palm lay horizontally across space. Terrifying quintessence energy of the laws surged into appearance, and it transformed into a vast and enormous net that enveloped down towards the eastern flamed Scarlet Phoenix and Chan Yin. The terrifying aura swept out and spread out. Countless dead stars in the surroundings were trembling under this power. Waves of Taoist rhymes circulated, evolving and transforming everything in the world. This power was too terrifying. In just a flash, Dongli Chihuang and Chen Yin felt the taste of death. They didn't think and immediately exerted all their strength to fight back. After all, they had reached the second sky of a mortal realm. Their cultivation wasn't the same as before. Amidst the surging demon aura, the two of them resisted Du Xiaofu's attack. However, they spat out mouthfuls of blood at the same time. Their faces instantly darkened and became as pale as paper. How terrifying, kid. Chen Yin was shocked to the extreme. He could imagine how powerful Du Xiaofu was, but when he really faced him, he couldn't help but feel terrified. One had to know that Du Xiaofu had only casually struck out a blow without using any other techniques, yet he had almost crippled them. This was too terrifying. He and Dongli Chihuang were experts who had mastered two primitive laws. Even in the ancient times, they were extremely terrifying existences. I don't know what you're relying on, but if you want to be arrogant in front of me, I'm afraid you found the wrong person. We fought for many years in Shenwu world. When have you not been defeated by me? Du Xiaofu snorted coldly and suddenly burst out again. This time, he circulated his power and turned it into rays of light that spun around his body. His aura began to rise crazily, causing Suimo, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, and the others to quickly retreat far away, not daring to get close. Wait, Chun Yin suddenly shouted when he saw that Du Xiaofu was about to attack again. Do you have anything else to say? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked. Chen Yin raised his sleeve and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Then, he let out a long sigh of relief, and his complexion improved slightly. However, because of the attack just now, he had used up more than half of his power. If he allowed Du Xiaofu to attack again, he was afraid that he would really die without a burial place. Du Xiaofu, the two of us want to kill you. Moreover, if you were at your peak, with your strength, you wouldn't be able to catch our attention at all. Chun Yin said softly and slowly, with a strong sense of unwillingness. However, he quickly suppressed this feeling and said to Du Xiaofu, "Didn't you want to find His Excellency? Come with us. His Excellency also wants to see you." Jiangchen? Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed, and his heart began to palpitate uncontrollably. He really did want to see Jiangchen and confirm with his own eyes whether or not the His Excellency Dongli Chihuang and Chen Yin were referring to was the same Jiangchen of the past. That's right, His Excellency wants to see you. He told us to come and take you there. Dongli Chihuang stepped forward and said with certainty. Then, he changed the subject. However, whether or not you meet him is still up to you. Don't blame us for not warning you. If His Excellency is angry, even 100 Du Xiaofu won't be enough to kill you. He gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with a dilemma. As Du Xiaofu's enemy, he naturally hoped that Du Xiaofu would die as soon as possible and eliminate a huge threat to the demon race. If His Excellency was willing to take action, then no matter how strong Du Xiaofu was, he definitely wouldn't be able to kill His Excellency. However, at the same time, Dongli Chihuang was also very worried. After all, Du Xiaofu and His Excellency had a deep friendship in the past. Back then, because Du Xiaofu had saved him and Chen Yin, Dongli Chihuang owed Du Xiaofu a favor. Dongli Chihuang was afraid that His Excellency would care too much and refuse to kill Du Xiaofu. However, they'd come under His Excellency's orders and didn't dare disobey. Everything depended on Du Xiaofu's intentions. Who exactly is that Jiangchen? Suimo Yin, Qi Yuanlin, Lin Kaiyun, Xiao Yun, and the others were extremely puzzled by Du Xiaofu's conversation. This wasn't the first time they'd heard Jiangchen's name from Du Xiaofu, Dongli Chihuang, and Chun Yan's mouths. For two demons to call him His Excellency, one could imagine that Jiangchen's status was definitely higher than theirs. They didn't know what kind of status he had in the demon race. All right, take me to see Jiangchen. Du Xiaofu didn't answer them, nor did he hesitate. He simply nodded and agreed. Eastern Flame, Crimson Phoenix, and Chen Yin didn't reply, and they just glanced deeply at Du Xiaofu at the same time before silently turning around and leading the way ahead. Let's go. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and led the other powerhouses to move together. He'd considered leaving everyone in this space and going alone, but after thinking about it, he couldn't be at ease. Jiangxin was the demon ancestor. Du Xiaofu was very certain of this, so this trip would definitely be accompanied by great risks. However, this space was also very strange. He didn't dare let his guard down. Everyone moved quickly. Star fields flashed past them one after another. During this process, Du Xiaofu kept thinking about a few things. Naturally, he hoped that Jiangxin was still the person he knew. He hoped that Jiangxin wouldn't plan to slaughter the 33 heavens just because he was the demon ancestor. He hoped that Jiangxin would recover his strength just to improve himself. However, Du Xiaofu also considered that Jiangxin would directly suppress him. If that happened, he was afraid that he'd really have to stand on the opposite side. Sigh. After a long time, Du Xiaofu let out a long sigh. Some things couldn't be changed by one's own will. No matter what the outcome was, he had to face it. He gradually gathered his thoughts and stopped thinking about it. He simply followed Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. The vast expanse of space stretched as far as the eye could see. They didn't know how far they'd walked. It seemed as if they were going to continue moving forward endlessly until they reached the end of the starry sky. However, on a certain day, Chen Yin and the Eastern Flame Crimson Phoenix suddenly turned around and flashed out swiftly, and they plunged into a nearby black hole. What trick are they playing now? Du Xiaofu frowned and said coldly. He looked at the place where the two had disappeared. It was a huge black hole vortex. A terrifying, devouring power was emitted, as if it wanted to pull one's spiritual soul out of the body. It was incomparably terrifying. This black hole is also unusual. It's not a good place. Suemo and the others were a little solemn. Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin had suddenly rushed in, causing them to be vigilant. Their cultivation was only at the complete true severing realm. Just standing far away from the black hole, everyone felt a terrifying aura. The power in their bodies surged endlessly, as if it was boiling. Their strength was greatly restricted. They're out again. Under everyone's gaze, not long after, two figures charged out of the black hole again and appeared before everyone. These two figures were Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yin. However, when they reappeared, another dozen or so devilish figures followed them out. Du Xiaofu, it's true that His Excellency wants to see you, but don't think you'll see him so easily. Today, this place will be the place where you die. So long as you're dead, even if His Excellency punishes you, we won't hesitate. Dongli Qihuang stepped forward, facing Du Xiaofu as he spoke viciously. So it's just two idiots acting on their own. Du Xiaofu breathed a sigh of relief. He'd thought Jiangxin had ordered the two of them to surround him. Who would have thought they just acted on their own accord? They didn't want him to see Jiangxin, that's all. They wanted to kill him here. You want to suppress me? Then come and try. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the group, taking in the strength of the dozen or so individuals. They were all very strong. 4 were at the 7th sky of the immortal realm, 3 were at the 8th sky of the immortal realm, and 2 were even more terrifying. They were at the 9th sky of the immortal realm. A total of 9 high-level immortal realm experts stood tall, emanating a terrifying aura,